Roger Gray's boots crunch on the asteroid's rocky surface as he stumbles upon a sight that freezes him in his tracks. A Cardassian lies motionless in a pool of green blood, her fragile body twisted at unnatural angles. The galaxy's weakest species, known for their herbivorous diet and delicate physiology, rarely ventures this far into space. The Cardassian's eyes snap open, terror flooding her features as she spots Roger. She tries to recoil, her broken limbs betraying her instinct to flee. "No, please," she whimpers in broken universal common, her voice barely audible through the comm system in Roger's suit. Roger's mind races. He's never encountered a Cardassian up close before, but he knows their reputation. To them, humans are fearsome carnivores, apex predators to be avoided at all costs. He can see the fear in her eyes. She thinks he's here to kill and eat her. "I'm not going to hurt you," Roger says, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. He takes a cautious step forward, hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. "My name is Roger. I'm here to help." The Cardassian's eyes dart frantically, searching for an escape that doesn't exist. Roger kneels beside her, careful not to make any sudden movements. His suit sensors scan her vitals, confirming what he already suspects: multiple fractures, internal bleeding, shock setting in fast. "What's your name?" Roger asks, reaching for his medkit. "Hope," she manages, her breath coming in short. Pain gasps. "Okay, Hope. I'm going to do what I can to stabilize you, all right?" Roger explains, his fingers flying over the emergency beacon on his suit. "I've called for help. My ship will be here soon." Hope's eyes widen at the mention of a ship full of humans, but she's too weak to protest. Roger works quickly, applying pressure to the worst of her wounds and administering a broad-spectrum painkiller. He talks softly as he works, explaining each action, trying to keep her calm. Minutes drag by like hours. Hope's fear gradually subsides as she realizes Roger's intentions are genuinely benevolent. Her eyes, once filled with terror, now hold a mix of pain and cautious hope. The low hum of engines signals the arrival of Roger's ship. As the medbay team rushes out with a stretcher, Roger carefully lifts Hope's broken body. She weighs almost nothing in his arms, a stark reminder of the vast physiological differences between their species. In the ship's medbay, advanced human medical technology springs into action. Surgeons work tirelessly, using techniques and equipment far beyond anything available to the Cardassians. Hours later, Hope opens her eyes to find Roger by her bedside, a tired smile on his face. "You're going to be okay," he tells her, relief evident in his voice. As news of the incident spreads, shockwaves ripple through the galactic community. Cardassians and other alien races begin to reevaluate their long-held beliefs about humans as dangerous predators. For the first time, many see humans as potential allies rather than threats. But not everyone is pleased with this turn of events. Back on Earth, tensions rise among certain factions who view Roger's actions as a threat to humanity's position in the galactic hierarchy. They argue that helping lesser species could weaken humanity's standing and compromise their security. Roger finds himself at the center of a growing storm. As he faces criticism and potential consequences for his actions, he realizes that saving Hope's life was just the beginning. The real battle, the fight for interspecies cooperation in a galaxy divided, is only just beginning. As Roger stood by Hope's bedside in the medbay, his comm unit chirped with an urgent message. His face fell as he read the screen, realizing the full impact of his actions was only beginning to unfold. "I have to go," he said softly to Hope, whose large eyes widened with concern. "But I promise I'll be back to check on you." Roger's shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, the familiar blue and green of his homeworld coming into view. As he disembarked at the United Earth government's headquarters in Geneva, he was met with a cacophony of voices and flashing cameras. Mr. Gray, how do you respond to accusations of endangering humanity's position in the galaxy? Shouted one reporter. Is it true you violated UEG protocols? Yelled another. Roger pushed through the crowd, his expression resolute. Inside the building, he was immediately ushered into a conference room where Admiral Marcus Blackwood waited, his stern face a mask of disapproval. Explain yourself, Gray, Blackwood demanded, his voice cold and authoritative. Roger straightened his back, meeting the Admiral's gaze. Sir, I encountered a critically injured sentient being. My actions were in line with our core values of... Your actions, Blackwood interrupted, have potentially compromised humanity's standing among the stars. He slammed a fist on the table. Do you have any idea of the consequences? The Cardassians see us as predators for a reason. It keeps them in check, keeps us safe. As Roger opened his mouth to respond, the door swung open. A woman with sharp features and intelligent eyes strode in, her lab coat billowing behind her. I believe Mr. Gray's actions present an unprecedented opportunity, she said, her voice clear and confident. Admiral Blackwood's face reddened. Dr. Reeves, this is a closed meeting. And yet here I am, she replied with a smile. Turning to Roger, she extended her hand. Dr. Elena Reeves, Interstellar Diplomatic Institute. Your rescue of the Cardassian has opened doors we never thought possible. Roger shook her hand, relief washing over him at finding an unexpected ally. This is bigger than one rescue mission, Dr. Reeves continued. We have a chance to redefine interspecies relations. Mr. Gray, I'd like you to join my research team at the IDI. Before Roger could respond, alarms blared throughout the building. Security personnel rushed past the conference room, their boots thundering in the hallway. What's going on? Blackwood demanded, activating his comm unit. A harried voice came through. Sir, we have a situation outside. A group calling themselves the Terran First Movement is staging a protest. It's getting violent. The three of them moved to the window. Below, a sea of angry faces filled the plaza. Many carried signs with slogans like Humans First and Protect Our Species. At the front of the crowd, a man with a military bearing shouted into a megaphone, his words whipping the protesters into a frenzy. That's Colonel James Vance, Blackwood muttered. He's been pushing for a more aggressive stance in galactic politics for years. Dr. Reeves turned to Roger, her expression grave. This is why your work with us is so crucial. We need to counter this narrative before it spirals out of control. As they watched, the protest below grew more heated. Suddenly, a rock sailed through the air, shattering a ground-floor window. The crowd surged forward, overwhelming the security barriers. We need to move, Blackwood ordered, already heading for the door. Gray, whatever you decide, watch your back. You've made some powerful enemies today. As they hurried through the corridors, Roger's comm unit buzzed again. He glanced at it, his blood running cold as he read the message. Your actions have not gone unnoticed. There are those who would see humanity reign supreme, no matter the consequences. Watch your step, or your next encounter with a Cardassian might be your last. Roger's mind raced. The threat, the protests, the political machinations. It was all happening so fast. As they reached a secure area of the building, he turned to Dr. Reeves. I'll join your team, he said firmly. But first, I need to know everything you can tell me about something called Operation Silverlight. Dr. Reeves's eyes widened in surprise. Where did you hear that name? She whispered, glancing nervously at Blackwood, who was engaged in a heated conversation with the security team. Before Roger could respond, a deafening explosion rocked the building. Alarms screeched as smoke began to fill the hallway. In the chaos, Roger felt a hand grasp his arm. pulling him towards an emergency exit. "Come with me if you want answers," Dr. Reeves shouted over the din. "But we need to move now." As they raced down the stairs, Roger's mind whirled with questions. What had he stumbled into? And how deep did this conspiracy go? One thing was certain: his life, and potentially the future of human-alien relations, would never be the same. As Roger and Dr. Reeves raced down the stairs, the acrid smell of smoke filled their lungs. They burst through an emergency exit into the crisp night air, alarms blaring behind them. "This way," Dr. Reeves said, leading Roger to a waiting shuttle. "We need to get you to the IDI immediately." They climbed aboard, finding Captain Marcus Webb at the controls. As the shuttle lifted off, Roger's comm unit buzzed again. He glanced at the screen, his face hardening as he read another ominous message. "Dr. Reeves," he said, his voice tight, "I think we have a problem." Before he could elaborate, a violent jolt rocked the shuttle. Captain Webb's hands flew across the controls, his eyes narrowing in concentration. "We've got company," Webb announced, his voice steady despite the tension evident in his shoulders. "Unmarked craft, coming in hot." Roger gripped his seat as Webb executed a series of evasive maneuvers. The shuttle dipped and weaved through Geneva's skyline, the pursuing craft matching their every move. "Hang on," Webb called out as he suddenly cut power to the main thrusters, letting the shuttle drop like a stone. Their attacker overshot, giving Webb the opening he needed. He fired up the engines, sending them surging forward at breakneck speed. Dr. Reeves clutched her tablet, her squeezing hard. "This is impossible," she muttered. "How did they know our flight plan?" As if in answer, a barrage of weapons fire erupted around them. Webb's reflexes were put to the test as he navigated through the onslaught, each near-miss illuminating the cockpit with flashes of deadly light. "I'm going to try something," Webb said through gritted teeth. He flipped several switches, causing the shuttle's running lights to flicker and die. In the sudden darkness, he cut a sharp turn, diving beneath an elevated maglev track. Their pursuer, momentarily confused, flew past overhead. Webb seized the opportunity, gunning the engines and climbing rapidly into the upper atmosphere. As they broke through the cloud cover, the vast expanse of stars greeted them. Webb allowed himself a small smile of triumph. "We're clear," he announced, his shoulders relaxing slightly. Setting course for the IDI. Roger let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. He turned to Dr. Reeves, who was already reviewing footage from the shuttle's external cameras. "This is going to cause quite a stir," she said, her eyes darting across the screen. "Captain Webb's piloting skills. They're going to be talking about this for weeks." Roger nodded, the gravity of the situation settling in. "Someone really doesn't want me reaching the IDI," he said quietly. The rest of the journey passed in tense silence. As they approached the IDI's orbital station, Roger could see a flurry of activity through the viewports. Security vessels swarmed around them, escorting the shuttle to a heavily guarded docking bay. The moment they touched down, armored security personnel surrounded the shuttle. A woman with short-cropped hair and a stern expression strode purposefully towards them as they disembarked. "Mr. Gray, Dr. Reeves," she said crisply. "I'm Commander Sarah Hawkins, head of IDI security. We need to get you to a secure location immediately." As they hurried through the station's corridors, Hawkins briefed them on the situation. "The attack on your shuttle was likely orchestrated by a radical faction within the Terran First Movement," she explained. "We have reason to believe they may have inside help from UEG sympathizers." Roger's mind reeled at the implications. "How deep does this go?" he asked. Hawkins' expression darkened. "That's what we intend to find out. For now, you'll be under constant protection." They entered a high-security conference room where a team of analysts was already at work. Screens displayed news feeds from across Earth and its colonies. One caught Roger's eye, a familiar face speaking from a medical facility. It was Hope, the Cardassian he had rescued. Her voice, though still weak, carried a note of tenacity. "The kindness shown to me by Roger Gray and the human medical team has opened my eyes," she was saying. "It is time for Cardassians and humans to move past our misconceptions and work together for a better future." As Hope's words echoed through the room, Roger felt a mix of pride and apprehension. He had set something in motion, something far bigger than himself. Dr. Reeves touched his arm, drawing his attention to another screen. It showed Admiral Blackwood addressing the UEG Security Council. "The events of the past few days have made it clear," Blackwood was saying, his voice resonating with authority. "We must take decisive action to protect humanity's interests. I propose the immediate implementation of the Human Defense Initiative." Roger watched as several council members nodded in agreement, while others looked alarmed. "This is bad," Dr. Reeves murmured. "If Blackwood's initiative passes, it could undo years of diplomatic progress." Commander Hawkins approached them, her face grim. "We don't have much time," she said. "Dr. Reeves, your research into Cardassian physiology might be our best chance at countering this isolationist push. Mr. Gray, we need you to work with her. Your first-hand experience with the Cardassians could be invaluable." Roger nodded, his persistence strengthening. As he followed Dr. Reeves to her lab, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing at the precipice of something momentous. The galaxy was changing, and he was at the heart of it all. In the lab, Dr. Reeves immediately set to work, her fingers flying over holographic displays. "There's something here," she muttered, more to herself than to Roger. "Something in the Cardassian cellular structure. If I'm right, this could change everything." As Roger watched her work, his comm unit buzzed once more. He glanced at it, his breath catching in his throat as he read the message. "Operation Silverlight is just the beginning. The truth goes deeper than you can imagine. Meet me on Level 3, Storage Bay 7. Come alone if you want answers." Roger looked up, his mind racing. Dr. Reeves was engrossed in her work. Commander Hawkins was coordinating security outside. This might be his only chance to uncover the truth. Taking a deep breath, he slipped out of the lab and headed for the elevator, his heart pounding with each step. Whatever awaited him in Storage Bay 7, he knew it would change the course of his life, and possibly the fate of human-alien relations forever. Forever. With a deep breath, Roger stepped into the elevator, his heart racing as he descended to Level 3. As the door slid open, revealing the dimly lit corridor of Storage Bay 7, Roger's comm unit buzzed again. He glanced down, expecting another cryptic message, but instead saw an urgent alert from Dr. Reeves. "Roger, come back immediately. We've made a breakthrough." For a moment, Roger hesitated, torn between the promise of answers and the pull of scientific discovery. But as the weight of recent events settled on his shoulders, he made his decision. With one last look at the shadowy storage bay, he pressed a button for the lab level and headed back up. The moment Roger re-entered the lab, he was struck by the electric atmosphere. Dr. Reeves stood at the center of a holographic display, her eyes wide with excitement. "Roger, look at this," she said, gesturing to the swirling strands of DNA before her. "We were analyzing Hope's genetic structure when we noticed something extraordinary." As Roger approached, the hologram zoomed in on a specific sequence. Dr. Reeves pointed to a series of markers that pulsed with a soft blue light. "These gene sequences," she explained, her voice barely above a whisper, "they're dormant in Hope's DNA. But here's the kicker. They bear a striking similarity to human genetic markers." Roger's mind raced as he processed the implications. "Are you saying—" Dr. Reeves nodded, finishing his thought. "It suggests a possible shared ancestry between humans and Cardassians. This could rewrite everything we thought we knew about our species' origins." Before Roger could respond, Commander Hawkins burst into the lab, her face a mask of urgency. "We've got a situation," she announced. "There's been a security breach. Someone tried to hack into our genetic research data." Dr. Reeves gasped, instinctively moving to protect her workstation. "Did they get anything?" Hawkins shook her head. "No, we managed to thwart the attack. But it's clear that someone out there is very interested in what you're working on." As the implications of this new threat sank in, Roger's comm unit buzzed once more. This time, it was a news alert. He activated the holographic display, and the room fell silent as they watched the scene unfold. A Cardassian delegation, led by a stern-faced woman identified as Counselor Zira, was disembarking from a sleek spacecraft. Among them, looking pale but determined, was Hope. As they made their way towards the United Earth Government headquarters, a crowd of protesters surged forward, their faces contorted with anger. "Humans first," they chanted, waving signs and pushing against the security cordon. Suddenly, a group broke through, charging towards the Cardassian delegation. The human security forces reacted with lightning speed, their superior strength and training on full display as they subdued the attackers. But the damage was done. The galaxy watched as images of the conflict spread across every news feed. "This is going to complicate things," Dr. Reeves murmured, her eyes fixed on the screen. As if on cue, the feed switched to a live broadcast from the UEG Security Council. Admiral Blackwood stood at the podium, his voice resonating with authority. "In light of recent events," he declared, "I call for an immediate vote on the Human Defense Initiative. We must act now to protect our interests and secure our future." Roger watched as council members began to nod in agreement, a sense of dread settling in his stomach. But before Blackwood could continue, the chamber doors burst open. A man Roger didn't recognize strode in, waving a data pad. "I'm Michael Torres, investigative journalist," he announced. "And I have evidence that will change everything you think you know about human-alien relations." As Torres began to speak, detailing the extent of human-alien hybridization experiments conducted on Mars, Roger's comm unit vibrated once more. He glanced down, his breath catching as he read the message. The truth about Operation Silverlight and the genetic link between humans and Cardassians. Europa. Coordinates enclosed. Come alone if you want answers. Roger looked up, meeting Dr. Reeves' questioning gaze. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Commander Hawkins' comm unit crackled to life. "Multiple UEG installations under attack," a frantic voice reported. "Colonel James Vance is leading a coordinated assault. It's a coup attempt." As chaos erupted around him, Roger found himself at a crossroads. The genetic discovery, the Cardassian delegation, the attacks on Earth, and now this mysterious meeting on Europa, all seemed to be pieces of a larger puzzle. But which path would lead to the truth? Before he could decide, Dr. Reeves grabbed his arm, her face pale with concern. "Roger, it's Hope. Her condition is deteriorating rapidly. I think the stress of recent events has triggered something in her physiology." In that moment, Roger knew what he had to do. The fate of two species might hang in the balance, but right now, a life was at stake, a life he had sworn to protect. "Prepare a shuttle," he told Commander Hawkins. "We're going to save Hope and get to the bottom of this mystery, no matter what it takes." As they rushed to prepare for their daring mission, Roger couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something monumental. Whatever lay ahead on Europa, whatever secrets Operation Silverlight held, he was determined to uncover the truth and forge a new path for human-alien relations. With Hope's life hanging by a thread and the future of two species in the balance, Roger steeled himself for the challenges ahead. As they boarded the shuttle, he cast one last look at the chaos unfolding on the news feeds. Whatever happened next would change the course of galactic history forever. Roger's mind raced as he processed the gravity of the situation. With Hope's life hanging in the balance and the future of human-alien relations at stake, He knew he had to act quickly and decisively. "Commander Hawkins," he said, turning to face her, "I need you to prepare 2 shuttles. One for me to Europa and another for Dr. Reeves and Hope." Hawkins nodded, her expression a mix of confusion and perseverance. "What's the plan, Mr. Gray?" Roger took a deep breath, organizing his thoughts. "We're going to pursue multiple objectives simultaneously. I'll investigate the lead on Europa while Dr. Reeves works on saving Hope. We'll also need to ensure the safety of the Cardassian delegation." Dr. Reeves stepped forward, her brow furrowed. "Roger, Hope's condition is critical. We can't move her without risking further deterioration." "I know," Roger replied, his voice steady. "That's why I need you to set up a mobile medical unit in the shuttle. We'll stabilize her condition en route." As Hawkins left to make the necessary arrangements, Roger turned his attention to Hope. Drawing on his expertise in xenobiology, he began examining her vital signs and genetic markers. As he worked, a theory began to form in his mind. "Dr. Reeves, look at this," he said, pointing to a holographic display of Hope's DNA. "The deterioration seems to be concentrated in areas where her genetic structure differs most significantly from humans. What if we use a controlled genetic therapy using human DNA to stabilize these regions?" Dr. Reeves' eyes widened as she considered the implications. "It's risky, but it might be our best chance. We'll need Counselor Zira's approval." Roger nodded, already moving towards the communication terminal. After a tense conversation with the Cardassian leader, he received reluctant approval to proceed with the experimental treatment. As they prepared Hope for transport, alarms blared throughout the station. Commander Hawkins' voice crackled over the intercom. "We're under attack. Colonel Vance's forces have breached the outer defenses." Roger's heart raced as he helped secure Hope in the medical shuttle. "Dr. Reeves, you need to go now. Get Hope to safety and continue the treatment. I'll head to Europa as planned." As Dr. Reeves' shuttle departed, Roger sprinted to his own vessel, equipping himself with advanced human technology designed for the harsh Jovian environment. The sounds of battle echoed through the station as he prepared for launch. Just before departing, Roger received an encrypted transmission from Michael Torres. The journalist's face appeared on the shuttle's display, looking haggard but determined. "Gray, I've uncovered more about Operation Silverlight," Torres said, his voice low and urgent. "It wasn't just about creating human Cardassian hybrids. They were trying to create a superior race, combining the best traits of both species." Roger's mind reeled at the implications. "Torres, I need you to get that information to the UEG Security Council. It could change everything." As Roger's shuttle broke free of the station's gravity well, he watched the battle unfold below. Commander Hawkins led the defense, her forces displaying the superior combat skills that had made humans feared across the galaxy. The journey to Europa felt agonizingly long. Roger's thoughts alternated between concern for Hope and anticipation of what he might find on the Jovian moon. As he approached the icy surface, his sensors detected a faint energy signature emanating from the coordinates he'd been given. Landing his shuttle on the treacherous terrain, Roger donned his advanced environmental suit and set out across the frozen landscape. The suit's enhanced capabilities allowed him to navigate the dangerous crevasses and ice formations with relative ease. After what felt like hours of careful exploration, Roger discovered a hidden entrance built into the side of an ice cliff. Using the suit's advanced scanning technology, he bypassed the security systems and entered a vast, dimly lit chamber. As his eyes adjusted to the gloom, Roger found himself face to face with an older man in a lab coat. The man's eyes gleamed with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Mr. Gray," the man said, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. "I'm Dr. Alexander Frost. I've been expecting you." Before Roger could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Dr. Frost's expression hardened as he glanced at a nearby monitor. "It seems Admiral Blackwood's forces have followed you here," he said grimly. "We don't have much time. I need to show you the truth about Operation Silverlight before it's too late." As explosions rocked the facility, Roger followed Dr. Frost deeper into the hidden research outpost. Knowing that the answers he sought, and the future of human-alien relations, lay somewhere in its depths. Roger followed close behind, his heart pounding as the facility shook around them. Alarms blared, their shrill cries echoing through the corridors as they ran. "This way," Dr. Frost called out, gesturing towards a narrow passageway. "We need to reach the data core before Blackwood's forces destroy everything." They sprinted down the corridor, Roger's enhanced physique allowing him to easily keep pace with the older scientist. As they rounded a corner, they heard the sound of heavy footsteps behind them. "They're getting closer," Roger said, glancing over his shoulder. Dr. Frost nodded grimly. "We don't have much time. Help me with this." They reached a sealed bulkhead, and Dr. Frost began inputting a complex code into the access panel. Roger positioned himself between the scientist and the approaching threat, ready to defend if necessary. The bulkhead slid open with a hiss, revealing a vast chamber filled with rows of humming servers. Dr. Frost hurried to a central console, his fingers flying over the holographic interface. "This is it," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "The complete research files of Operation Silverlight. We need to download everything before." An explosion rocked the facility, cutting off his words. Roger stumbled, but quickly regained his footing. He spotted a portable data device on a nearby workstation and grabbed it. "Use this," he said, tossing the device to Dr. Frost. "We need to hurry." As the scientists worked to transfer the files, Roger accessed the facility's security systems. Using his advanced knowledge of human technology, he began sealing bulkheads throughout the complex, hoping to slow down their pursuers. "Done," Dr. Frost announced, pocketing the data device. "We have everything." They raced out of the data core, the sounds of battle growing louder behind them. Roger's mind raced, calculating their best route of escape. He recalled the layout of the facility from the schematics he'd studied earlier. "The hangar," he said. "It's our best chance." They sprinted through a maze of corridors, Roger's superior physical abilities allowing him to easily outpace Dr. Frost. But he refused to leave the older man behind, slowing his pace and offering support when needed. As they approached the hangar, the facility trembled again. Cracks appeared in the ice walls around them, and Roger knew they were running out of time. They burst into the hangar, only to find themselves face to face with a squad of Blackwood's forces. Weapons trained on them, the soldiers advanced slowly. "Surrender now," the squad leader ordered. "There's nowhere left to run." Roger's eyes darted around the hangar, taking in every detail. He noticed the ice ceiling above them, the environmental controls near the far wall, and the small spacecraft docked nearby. In a split second, he formulated a plan. "Dr. Frost," he whispered, "when I give the signal, run for that ship." Before the older man could respond, Roger sprang into action. He dove towards the environmental controls, his fingers flying over the interface. Alarms blared as he initiated a control breach in the ice above the hangar. "Now!" he shouted. As Dr. Frost made a dash for the spacecraft, chaos erupted in the hangar. A cascade of water and ice poured from the ceiling, catching Blackwood's forces off guard. Roger used the distraction to his advantage, weaving through the confusion and joining Dr. Frost at the ship's entrance. They quickly boarded the small craft, Roger taking the pilot's seat. His hands moved with practiced ease over the controls, bringing the engines to life. As water continued to flood the hangar, they lifted off, narrowly avoiding the grasping hands of Blackwood's soldiers. The ship shot out of the hangar and into the harsh Jovian atmosphere. Roger's exceptional piloting skills were immediately put to the test as he navigated through the treacherous conditions of Europa's surface. "We're not out of this yet," he said, his eyes fixed on the sensors. "There's scrambling fighters to pursue us." Dr. Frost clutched the data device tightly. "We can't let them catch us. The fate of human-alien relations depends on this information." Roger nodded grimly, pushing the small craft to its limits. They weaved through Europa's icy canyons, using the moon's treacherous terrain to their advantage. Behind them, Blackwood's forces gave chase, their superior ships slowly gaining ground. As they broke free of Europa's gravity well, Roger received an encrypted transmission. Commander Hawkins' face appeared on the ship's display, her expression tight with concern. "Gray, we've got a situation," she said. "Colonel Vance's forces have launched an all-out assault on the IDI and UEG headquarters. We're holding them off for now, but we need that information you've uncovered." Roger's mind raced, weighing their options. The fate of human-alien relations hung in the balance, and he knew the next decision he made could change everything. "Set a course for Earth," he told Dr. Frost. "We're going to end this, once and for all." As they sped towards their home planet, Roger could only hope they would arrive in time to make a difference. The truth about Operation Silverlight was finally within reach, but the cost of revealing it might be higher than anyone could have imagined. Roger's eyes narrowed as he made his decision. "Change of plans," he announced, his voice firm. "We're heading back to Earth. The IGI needs us." Dr. Frost's eyes widened. "But the pursuit—" "I'll handle it," Roger assured him, his hands already dancing across the ship's controls. As they altered course, the pursuing fighters from Europa fell behind, unable to match the small craft's agility and Roger's piloting skills. As they approached Earth's orbit, Roger's mind raced through possible infiltration strategies. He knew that both Admiral Blackwood's forces and Colonel Vance's insurgents would be on high alert. Then an idea struck him. "Dr. Frost, what do you know about Earth's magnetic field?" Roger asked, a plan forming in his mind. The scientist's eyebrows rose. "Quite a bit, actually. Why do you ask?" Roger explained his idea, and Dr. Frost nodded approvingly. "Brilliant. It just might work." As they entered Earth's atmosphere, Roger executed a series of complex maneuvers, using the planet's magnetic field to mask their energy signature. The ship bucked and shuddered, but Roger's steady hands kept them on course. Alarms blared as they pushed the small craft to its limits, but Roger's exceptional piloting skills prevailed. They touched down in a secluded area near the IDI facility, the stolen spacecraft settling onto the ground with a soft thud. Roger and Dr. Frost quickly disembarked, the precious data device clutched tightly in the scientist's hand. As they approached the IDI complex, the sounds of battle reached their ears. Explosions echoed in the distance, and the acrid smell of smoke filled the air. Roger's enhanced senses picked up the rapid staccato of gunfire and the shouts of combatants. "Stay close," Roger instructed Dr. Frost as they navigated through the chaos. They encountered their first group of Vance's insurgents near the eastern entrance. Roger moved with lightning speed, disarming the first man before he could even raise his weapon. A quick series of strikes left the others incapacitated but alive, showcasing Roger's ability to neutralize threats without lethal force. As they made their way deeper into the complex, they passed several wide-eyed Cardassians who had witnessed Roger's display of combat prowess. Murmurs of amazement followed in their wake, the aliens clearly impressed by the humans' capabilities. They reached the medical wing to find Dr. Elena Reeves hunched over a console, her face etched with concentration. Hope lay on a nearby bed, her skin glowing with an otherworldly light. "Roger," Dr. Reeves exclaimed as they entered. "The treatment. It's working beyond our wildest expectations. Hope's body is accepting the human DNA, and her cellular regeneration is off the charts." Roger's eyes widened as he took in the data scrolling across the screen. This could change everything, he breathed. Counselor Zira stepped forward, her scaled face a mix of awe and concern. Mr. Gray, what news do you bring? Roger quickly shared the information about Operation Silverlight, watching as shock and disbelief spread across the faces of the Cardassian delegation. The implications of the project's true scope left them reeling. We need to get this information out, Roger said urgently. Is the IDI's communication array still operational? Dr. Reeves nodded. It's our most heavily fortified system. But Roger, Vance's forces have breached the outer defenses. We don't have much time. Roger's mind raced, formulating a plan. We'll use the array to broadcast the data across all major networks, Earth and colonies. It's our best chance to bypass the compromised UEG channels and reach the public directly. As they prepared for the broadcast, Commander Sarah Hawkins' voice crackled over the intercom. Gray, Vance's forces are pushing hard. We can't hold them back much longer. Roger's heart made. Keep them at bay as long as you can, Commander. We're almost ready. As Dr. Reeves and the Cardassian delegation worked to initiate the broadcast, Roger made a difficult decision. I'm going out there, he announced. I'll buy you the time you need. Before anyone could protest, Roger was moving. He sprinted through the corridors of the IDI, the sounds of battle growing louder with each step. As he burst into the main atrium, he found himself face to face with Colonel Vance and his elite squad. Vance's eyes narrowed as he recognized Roger. Gray, he spat. I should have known you'd be here. Roger's muscles tensed, ready for action. It's over, Vance. The truth is about to come out. With a roar of rage, Vance charged. The two men collided in a flurry of strikes, their enhanced bodies pushing the limits of human capability. Roger ducked and weaved, his movements a blur as he fended off Vance's relentless assault. Back in the medical wing, Hope stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She took in the scene around her, understanding dawning in her eyes. Without a word, she slipped off the bed and moved to assist Dr. Reeves and the others with the broadcast preparations. As the battle between Roger and Vance reached its peak, the communication array hummed to life. The truth about Operation Silverlight began to flood every channel, every screen, every communications device across Earth and its colonies. The effect was immediate. Throughout the IDI, weapons lowered as Vance's followers absorbed the shocking revelations. Outside, reports began to pour in of Blackwood's loyalists turning against their leader. In the atrium, Vance stumbled, distracted by the sudden shift in the battle's momentum. Roger seized the opportunity, landing a decisive blow that sent the colonel crashing to the ground. As Roger stood over his defeated opponent, the doors to the medical wing opened. Counselor Zira emerged, flanked by the other Cardassians and a fully recovered Hope. They surveyed the scene before them, taking in the aftermath of the battle and the palpable sense of change in the air. Roger met Hope's eyes, seeing in them a reflection of the challenges and possibilities that lay ahead. The broadcast continued to spread, its revelations reshaping the political landscape with each passing second. As the dust began to settle, Roger knew that this was not an end, but a new beginning, one fraught with both promise and peril. Peril and opportunity for humanity and the Cardassians alike. As the broadcast continued to spread across Earth and its colonies, the impact was immediate and far-reaching. Within the IDI, the remaining insurgents lowered their weapons, their drive crumbling in the face of the shocking revelations. Outside, reports flooded in of Blackwood's loyalists turning against their leader. Roger, still catching his breath from the intense fight with Vance, watched as Hope approached him. Her eyes, now clear and alert, held a newfound strength. "We did it," she said softly, her voice filled with a mix of relief and uncertainty. Before Roger could respond, Commander Hawkins' voice crackled over the facility's intercom system. "Gray, We're receiving reports from UEG headquarters. Captain Stryker and his team have secured the building. Blackwood's forces are surrendering." A wave of relief washed over the assembled group. Dr. Reeves stepped forward, her expression a mixture of exhaustion and tenacity. "We need to stabilize the situation here at the IDI. There are still injured personnel and civilians who need our help." Roger nodded, his mind already racing with the next steps. "Agreed. Dr. Frost, work with Dr. Reeves to coordinate medical efforts. Counselor Zira, I need you and your delegation to help calm the Cardassian refugees. They'll be looking to you for guidance in this chaos." As the others moved to carry out their tasks, Roger turned to Hope. "How are you feeling?" She flexed her fingers, a faint glow pulsing beneath her skin. "Different, stronger, but also more connected to everything around me. It's hard to explain." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a UEG Security Council representative, her face grave as she approached Roger. "Mr. Gray, your presence is requested at an emergency council session. In light of recent events, we need someone with your unique perspective to help navigate this crisis." Roger hesitated, looking around at the still chaotic IDI facility. The representative sensed his reluctance and added, "The Council is proposing the formation of a joint human Cardassian commission to investigate Operation Silverlight. Your input would be invaluable." Recognizing the importance of this opportunity, Roger agreed. He turned to Hope and Dr. Reeves. "Can I trust you both to keep things under control here?" They nodded, and Roger followed the representative out of the IDI. As they made their way through the city, Roger was struck by the scenes unfolding around him. Crowds had gathered in the streets, a mix of humans and Cardassians, their faces displaying a range of emotions from fear and anger to hope and curiosity. At UEG headquarters, Roger found himself in the midst of a heated debate. The Security Council members argued back and forth about the implications of the Operation Silverlight revelations and the best course of action moving forward. "We need to be proactive," one counselor insisted. "This is our chance to forge a new era of cooperation with the Cardassians." "And risk compromising our own security?" Another countered. "We don't know the full extent of this project or its consequences." As the arguments continued, Roger felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. When the council finally turned to him for his opinion, he took a deep breath and spoke. "What we've uncovered with Operation Silverlight is just the beginning. We have an opportunity here to build something unprecedented, a true partnership between our species. But it won't be easy. We need transparency, cooperation, and most importantly, trust." His words seemed to resonate with the council members. After further discussion, they reached a decision. The Joint Human Cardassian Commission would be established, and Roger was asked to serve as the interim liaison between the two species. As he left the council chambers, Roger's mind raced with the implications of his new role. He knew that the coming days and weeks would be crucial in shaping the future of human-Cardassian relations. Returning to the IDI, Roger found Dr. Reeves and Hope preparing for a public address. "The people need to see that we're united," Dr. Reeves explained. "Your presence, along with Hope and Counselor Zira, could go a long way in calming fears and building trust." Roger agreed, and soon found himself standing before a sea of faces, human and Cardassian alike. As cameras broadcasted the event across Earth, its colonies, and even to the Cardassian homeworld. As he began to speak, Roger could feel the tension in the air. He talked about the challenges they had faced, the truths they had uncovered, and the opportunities that lay ahead. When Hope stepped forward to demonstrate her enhanced abilities, a hush fell over the crowd. The reaction was immediate and varied. Some watched in awe as Hope manipulated energy fields with a mere thought, while others muttered in concern about the implications of such power. As the address concluded, Roger could see that their words had sparked intense discussions among the audience. He knew that this was just the beginning of a long and complex process of building understanding between humans and Cardassians. His thoughts were interrupted by an urgent message from Commander Hawkins. "Gray, we have a situation. There's been an attack on a Cardassian refugee settlement on one of the outer colonies. Initial reports suggest it was carried out by a human supremacist group." Roger's heart sank as he realized the fragile peace they had worked so hard to achieve was already being threatened. He knew that his role as liaison would be put to the test sooner than he had anticipated. As he prepared to address this new crisis, Roger couldn't help but wonder about the deeper implications of the Operation Silverlight revelations. What other secrets might be hidden in the project's files? And how would these discoveries shape the future of both species? With these questions weighing heavily on his mind, Roger set out to face the new challenges that lay ahead. Knowing that the path to true cooperation between humans and Cardassians would be fraught with obstacles and unexpected turns. Roger's mind raced as he processed the implications of the attack on the Cardassian refugee settlement. This new crisis threatened to unravel the fragile peace they had worked so hard to achieve. He knew that his role as liaison would be put to the test sooner than anticipated. As he prepared to address the situation, an urgent message from Dr. Reeves caught his attention. "Roger, you need to see this immediately." Her voice crackled through the comm system. Rushing to the research lab, Roger found Dr. Reeves hunched over a holographic display, her eyes wide with excitement and disbelief. "We've made a breakthrough," she said, gesturing to the complex genetic sequences floating before them. "There's evidence of an ancient connection between humans and Cardassians." Roger stared at the data, his heart pounding. "Are you certain?" Dr. Reeves nodded emphatically. "The genetic markers are unmistakable. This could rewrite our entire understanding of both species' origins." The revelation sent shockwaves through both human and Cardassian societies. The Joint Human-Cardassian Commission, initially established to investigate Operation Silverlight, quickly shifted its focus to uncovering the truth behind this potential shared history. Recognizing the monumental importance of this discovery, Roger assembled a team of top human and Cardassian scientists, historians, and archaeologists to spearhead the investigation. The atmosphere was electric as experts from both species worked side by side, piecing together clues from their shared past. Weeks of intense research culminated in a startling discovery on a remote human colony world. Dr. Reeves and her Cardassian counterpart, Dr. Keltek, uncovered an artifact unlike anything they had ever seen before. The object, a metallic sphere covered in unfamiliar symbols, defied classification as either human or Cardassian in origin. As the research team gathered around the artifact, Hope stepped forward, her enhanced senses picking up faint energy emanations from the sphere. "There's something more to this," she murmured, reaching out to touch the object. Instinctively, Roger placed his hand alongside hers. The moment their fingers made contact with the cool metal surface, the sphere hummed to life. A brilliant holographic star map burst forth, filling the room with pinpoints of light. Several systems near the border of human and Cardassian space glowed with particular intensity. The discovery prompted an emergency session of the UEG Security Council. After hours of heated debate, they approved a joint human-Cardassian expedition to these uncharted systems. Given his unique position and experience, Roger was appointed to lead the mission. As preparations for the expedition began in earnest, Roger found himself juggling multiple responsibilities. He worked closely with Dr. Reeves, Hope, and a diverse team of human and Cardassian experts to plan every aspect of their journey into the unknown. However, their efforts were soon overshadowed by a new threat. Admiral Marcus Blackwood, though disgraced and under investigation, managed to escape custody with the help of loyalists within the military. Intelligence reports suggested he had fled to one of the secret Operation Silverlight facilities in the outer solar system. The news of Blackwood's escape sent ripples of concern through the UEG leadership. They feared the rogue admiral might attempt to sabotage the expedition or use hidden knowledge for his own nefarious purposes. In response, the UEG tasked Captain John Stryker with leading a covert operation to apprehend the fugitive admiral. Stryker, known for his unorthodox tactics and unwavering willpower, assembled an elite team of human operatives, showcasing the best of human military training and technology. As Stryker's team prepared for their mission, political tensions on the Cardassian homeworld reached a boiling point. A faction opposed to cooperation with humans staged a coup attempt against the High Council. Counselor Zira, a key ally in the human-Cardassian alliance, narrowly escaped an assassination attempt and sought asylum on Earth. Roger received word of Zira's arrival just as he was overseeing the final preparations for the expedition. Her presence on Earth added another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. The UEG now faced the delicate task of protecting a crucial ally while avoiding the appearance of interfering in Cardassian internal affairs. Amidst this political turmoil, the joint human-Cardassian security force faced its first major test. A series of coordinated attacks on scientific facilities researching human Cardassian genetics occurred across several Earth colonies. The attackers, a mix of human supremacists and Cardassian isolationists, sought to destroy research data and eliminate scientists working on collaborative projects. Roger, realizing the grave threat these attacks posed to both the upcoming expedition and the future of human-Cardassian relations, made the difficult decision to temporarily postpone the mission preparations. He took personal command of the security force, leading them in a series of high-stakes operations to protect key research sites and apprehend the extremist leaders. During one such operation, Roger and his team found themselves pinned down by enemy fire in a research facility on the outskirts of New Beijing. As they took cover behind overturned laboratory equipment, Roger caught sight of a familiar face among the attackers. "Commander Vex," he growled, recognizing the former Cardassian military officer who had once been a vocal opponent of human-Cardassian cooperation. Vex sneered, his scales glinting in the harsh fluorescent light. "You can't stop us, Gray. The purity of both our species must be preserved." As Roger's team exchanged fire with the attackers, he noticed a pattern in their movements. They seemed to be protecting a specific area of the facility with particular ferocity. Sensing an opportunity, Roger signaled to Hope, who had insisted on joining the security force despite the risks. Using her enhanced abilities, Hope created a distraction, manipulating energy fields to short out the facility's power grid. In the moment of confusion that followed, Roger and a small team of human and Cardassian operatives slipped past the enemy lines. What they discovered in the heavily guarded section of the facility left them stunned. Banks of computers hummed with activity, processing vast amounts of data. On the screens, Roger saw evidence linking the attackers to a shadowy organization known as the Purity Front. As Roger began to download the critical intelligence, alarms blared throughout the facility. Commander Vex and his forces had regrouped and were closing in fast. With time running out, Roger and his team prepared for a desperate fight to escape with their newfound information that could be the key to unraveling the conspiracy threatening to tear apart the fragile alliance between humans and Cardassians. Roger knew they had to act fast to preserve the vital intelligence they had uncovered. "Hope! Create a diversion!" Roger called out, his voice barely audible over the sound of approaching footsteps. Without hesitation, Hope closed her eyes, concentrating intensely. The air around them began to shimmer, and suddenly, the corridor behind them filled with illusory copies of their team, running in all directions. As confusion erupted among Vex forces, Roger and his team seized their chance. They sprinted through the facility, dodging enemy fire and leaping over debris. Roger clutched the data drive tightly, knowing it could be the key to unraveling the conspiracy threatening both their species. Just as they reached the exit, an explosion rocked the building. The blast knocked Roger off his feet, sending him sprawling across the floor. Through the smoke and dust, he saw Commander Vex emerge, his eyes blazing with hatred. "You won't escape, Gray," Vex snarled, raising his weapon. Before he could fire, a burst of energy struck him from behind. Hope stood there, her hand outstretched, her expression a mix of perseverance and fear at her own power. Roger scrambled to his feet, and they raced out of the crumbling facility. As they piled into their waiting transport, Roger's comm unit crackled to life. "Gray, this is Dr. Reeves. We have a situation at the launch facility on Earth's moon." Roger's heart sank as he listened to the doctor's report. The explosion at the lunar base, the sabotage of the HSS Horizon's navigation systems. It was clear that their enemies were escalating their efforts to derail the expedition. "Understood, Doctor. I'm on my way," Roger replied, his mind already racing with plans and contingencies. As their transport sped towards the nearest spaceport, Roger briefed his team on the new developments. "The stakes have just gotten higher," he said, his voice grim. "We're dealing with a coordinated attack on multiple fronts." Upon reaching the lunar launch facility, Roger was met by a scene of controlled chaos. Technicians and security personnel swarmed around the damaged HSS Horizon, while Dr. Reeves coordinated repair efforts from a makeshift command center. "Roger, thank goodness you're here," Elena said, her usually composed demeanor showing signs of strain. "The navigation systems are completely fried. We're looking at a significant delay." Roger nodded, taking in the situation. "We can't afford any delays, Elena. Not with everything that's at stake." He turned to address the assembled team leaders. "I want a complete security overhaul of all expedition personnel and facilities. No one gets near the horizon without triple verification." As the team dispersed to carry out his orders, Roger pulled Hope aside. "I need your help with the repairs," he said. "Your unique abilities might be our best chance of getting the horizon spaceworthy in time." Hope nodded, her eyes reflecting a mix of purpose and uncertainty. "I'll do whatever I can, Roger." Over the next several hours, Roger coordinated a flurry of activities. He personally vetted each member of the expedition team, implemented new security protocols, and oversaw the repair efforts. All the while, reports of increased Purity Front activity kept pouring in from across the solar system. Just as progress on the Horizon's repairs began to show promise, Roger received an urgent communication from Captain Stryker. "Gray, we've got a situation on Mars." Stryker's voice crackled through the comm. "Blackwood and his loyalists are attempting to seize control of the secondary launch facility. We're moving to intercept, but it's going to be close." Roger clenched his fist, frustration mounting. "Understood, Captain. Do whatever it takes to stop him. We can't let Blackwood beat us to those uncharted systems." As if the situation wasn't complicated enough, Counselor Zira burst into the command center, her scales flushed with agitation. "Roger, I've just received word from my contacts on the Cardassian homeworld. A radical military faction is planning to attack key human Cardassian research facilities." Roger closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of each crisis bearing down on him. When he opened them again, there was a steely drive in his gaze. "We're out of time," he announced to the room. "We need to launch now, ready or not." Dr. Reeves looked at him in shock. "Roger, the repairs aren't complete. We'd be flying with systems at minimal capacity." "It's a risk we have to take," Roger replied firmly. "Those uncharted systems might hold the key to resolving this conflict once and for all. We can't afford to wait." Roger quickly assembled a core team for the expedition, selecting only the most essential personnel. Dr. Reeves and Hope were among the first he chose, their expertise and unique abilities crucial for the challenges ahead. As the HSS Horizon prepared for emergency launch, Roger received one last update from Captain Stryker. Blackwood's attempt to seize the Mars facility had been thwarted, but the rogue admiral had managed to slip away once again. Standing on the bridge of the Horizon, Roger looked out at the stars that awaited them. The ship hummed with power, systems straining but operational. "All stations, report readiness," Roger commanded, his voice steady despite the tension that filled the air. One by one, each section of the ship confirmed their status. As the final checks were completed, Roger took a deep breath and gave the order they had all been waiting for. Initiate launch sequence. The HSS Horizon shuddered as it lifted off from the lunar surface, accelerating towards the uncharted regions of space. As Earth and its colonies fell away behind them, Roger knew that the true challenges of their mission were only just beginning. As Earth and its colonies fell away behind them, Roger knew that the true challenges of their mission were only just starting. The Horizon's engines hummed with hardly restrained power as they pushed deeper into uncharted space. Roger stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of stars ahead. Suddenly, the ship lurched violently, throwing several crew members off balance. "Status report," Roger barked, his hands flying over the control panel. Dr. Reeves' voice crackled over the comm. "The navigation systems are malfunctioning. We're veering off course." Roger's eyebrows furrowed as he assessed the situation. The partial repairs they'd managed before launch weren't holding up under the stress of deep space travel. Without hesitation, he disengaged the autopilot and took manual control of the massive ship. "Everyone, brace yourselves," he called out, his fingers dancing across the controls with practiced precision. The Horizon shuddered and groaned as Roger fought to stabilize its trajectory. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he drew upon years of space exploration experience, making split-second calculations and adjustments. Slowly, the violent shaking subsided, and the ship's path smoothed out. "Nice flying, Captain," Hope said, her voice tinged with both admiration and concern. Roger nodded grimly. "We're stable for now, but we need those navigation systems fixed ASAP." As if in response to his words, a warning klaxon blared through the ship. Dr. Reeves' face appeared on the main view screen, her expression grave. "Roger, we've got a problem in the engine core. The radiation levels are spiking, and we can't access it safely." Roger turned to Hope, who was already moving towards the exit. "I'm on it," she said, her enhanced physiology allowing her to withstand levels of radiation that would be lethal to an ordinary human. "Be careful," Roger called after her, knowing the risk she was taking. Minutes ticked by as Roger anxiously awaited news from the engine core. Finally, Hope's voice came through the comm, breathless but triumphant. "We did it, Roger. Dr. Reeves and I managed to stabilize the core and implement some critical repairs. The navigation systems should be back online shortly." Relief washed over Roger, but he knew they weren't out of danger yet. As the Horizon approached the first unexplored system highlighted by the ancient artifact, the ship's sensors suddenly came alive with activity. "Captain, I'm detecting an anomalous energy signature from one of the system's planets," reported the sensor officer, her eyes wide with excitement. Roger leaned forward, studying the readouts. "Take us in closer. Full sensor sweep." As they entered orbit around the planet, the true nature of the anomaly became clear. The planet's surface was dotted with the unmistakable signs of an ancient civilization, one far more advanced than anything known to humans or Cardassians. "Prepare a landing party," Roger ordered, his heart racing with anticipation. "Dr. Reeves, Hope, you're with me. We'll take a team of our best human and Cardassian scientists." The descent to the planet's surface was tense but uneventful. As they stepped out of the shuttle, Roger felt a sense of awe wash over him. Crumbling structures of an impossibly smooth, iridescent material stretched as far as the eye could see. "Incredible," Dr. Reeves breathed, her scientific curiosity overcoming her usual reserved demeanor. As they ventured deeper into the ruins, a shimmering figure suddenly materialized before them. The landing party instinctively reached for their weapons, but Roger held up a hand, signaling them to wait. The holographic figure spoke, its voice echoing with ancient wisdom. "Welcome, children of Earth and Cardassia. Your presence here activates the Guardian Protocol." Roger stepped forward, his voice steady despite his racing pulse. "We come in peace, seeking knowledge. Can you tell us about this place?" The hologram nodded, its form flickering slightly. This world once served as an outpost for the progenitors, an advanced race dedicated to the study of genetic engineering and species development. As the Guardians shared more about the planet's history, Roger couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of a monumental discovery. His instincts proved correct when they stumbled upon a sealed chamber deep within the ruins. "These are stasis pods," Dr. Reeves exclaimed, her scanner hovering over the sleek, alien devices. "Most have failed, but two are still active." Roger's breath caught in his throat as he saw the readouts. One human, one Cardassian, both perfectly preserved. The implications of this discovery were staggering. Before they could fully process what they'd found, Roger's communicator chirped urgently. "Captain, multiple unidentified vessels have entered the system. They're approaching rapidly and don't match any known designs." Roger's mind raced, weighing their options. With a heavy heart, he made his decision. "We need to get back to the horizon. Now, gather all the data you can, but leave the pods undisturbed." As they rushed back to their shuttle, Roger could feel the weight of their discovery pressing down on him. They had uncovered information that could reshape the galaxy, but now an unknown threat loomed on the horizon. Aboard the Horizon once more, Roger stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the approaching vessels. The crew waited in tense silence for his orders, the fate of their mission hanging in the balance. "Shields up," Roger commanded, his voice steady despite the churning in his gut. "Prepare for potential engagement, but do not fire unless fired upon. Let's see if we can communicate with them first." As the unknown ships drew closer, Roger steeled himself for whatever might come next. The discoveries they'd made on the planet's surface had opened up a world of possibilities, but now they faced an immediate and potentially deadly threat. Whatever happened in the next few moments, Roger knew it would shape the future of human-Cardassian relations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, for generations to come. Come. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the unknown vessels drew ever closer. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced, her voice tight with anticipation. Before Roger could respond, a blinding flash of light erupted from the approaching ships. The horizon shuddered violently, consoles sparking and alarms blaring throughout the vessel. "Report," Roger shouted, gripping the arms of his chair as the ship stabilized. "Main systems are offline," Dr. Reeves called out, her fingers flying over her console. "It appears to be some kind of energy pulse. We're running on emergency power." Roger's mind raced, years of training kicking in. "Initiate emergency backup systems. Reroute all available power to shields and life support." As the crew scrambled to carry out his orders, a massive holographic projection materialized in the space between the horizon and the alien fleet. Roger found himself face to face with a being unlike any he had ever encountered. A humanoid figure with features that seemed to blend both human and Cardassian characteristics. "I am Zorthal," the figure announced, its voice resonating through the ship speakers. "Representative of the progenitors. We have been observing your species for millennia." Roger stepped forward, his heart pounding. "I am Captain Roger Gray of the HSS Horizon. We come in peace, seeking knowledge." Zorthal nodded, a hint of approval in its otherworldly eyes. "Your recent cooperation with the Cardassians has activated a long-dormant protocol. The stasis pods you discovered were part of an experiment to create two companion species destined to reunite and unlock their shared potential." Before Roger could process this revelation, a familiar alarm cut through the air. "Captain," the tactical officer shouted. Another ship just dropped out of hyperspace. It's Admiral Blackwood. Roger's blood ran cold as he watched Blackwood's vessel emerge, its weapons systems powering up. Without hesitation, the rogue admiral opened fire, his barrage aimed at both the Horizon and the Progenitor ships. The alien vessels effortlessly deflected Blackwood's attack, but the Horizon wasn't so fortunate. Already weakened from the earlier pulse, the ship rocked under the impact of Blackwood's weapons. In that moment, Roger made a decision that would alter the course of history. He opened a channel to Zorthal, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Zorthal, I propose an alliance between humans, Cardassians, and the Progenitors. Together, we can confront threats like Blackwood and forge a new future for all our peoples. There was a pause that seemed to stretch for eternity. Then, Zorthal's holographic form nodded. Your proposal is accepted, Captain Gray. We will protect your vessel. The Progenitor ships move with impossible grace, their advanced shields easily repelling Blackwood's continued assault. Meanwhile, a stream of data flooded the Horizon systems. Captain, Dr. Reeves called out, her eyes wide with excitement. They're transmitting technical specifications. With this, we can implement emergency repairs and upgrades to our systems. As Dr. Reeves and Hope worked feverishly to integrate the new technology, Roger formulated a plan. We need to disable Blackwood's ship without destroying it, he announced to the bridge crew. I want that man to face justice for his actions. Coordinating with the Progenitor vessels, Roger orchestrated a complex maneuver. The alien ships provided cover, while the newly upgraded Horizon executed a series of precise tactical strikes. Blackwood's ship, caught off guard by the sudden increase in the Horizon's capabilities, was quickly overwhelmed. Admiral Blackwood's vessel has been disabled, the tactical officer reported, a note of satisfaction in her voice. Roger nodded grimly. Prepare a boarding party. We're going to apprehend the Admiral ourselves. Leading a team of both humans and Cardassians, Roger transported aboard Blackwood's ship. The corridors were filled with smoke and the sound of failing systems as they made their way to the bridge. There, they found Admiral Blackwood, his face contorted with rage and disbelief. It's over, Marcus, Roger said, his weapon trained on the rogue admiral. You're under arrest for treason against the Alliance. As Blackwood was secured and transported to the Horizon's brig, Roger received an unexpected communication from Zorthal. Captain Gray, your actions have impressed us. We invite you and a select team to board our flagship. There is much we must discuss about the future of our peoples. Roger looked around at his crew, humans and Cardassians working side by side, their faces a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He knew that whatever came next would change everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. Prepare a team, he ordered, his voice filled with commitment. It's time we learn the truth about our origins and our potential. As Roger, Dr. Reeves, Hope, and a small group of human and Cardassian experts made their final preparations to board the Progenitor flagship, a sense of anticipation filled the air. They stood on the precipice of a new era, one that promised to reshape the very foundations of their civilizations. The doors of the airlock hissed open, revealing a corridor of shimmering, otherworldly design. Roger took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders as he prepared to take the first step into humanity's new future. As they crossed the threshold into the Progenitor vessel, Roger felt a tingling sensation wash over his body. He glanced at his team, noticing their expressions of mild discomfort. Decontamination protocol. Zorthal's voice echoed in their minds. A necessary precaution for both our species. The tingling intensified, and Roger watched in fascination as a faint blue glow enveloped each member of his team. He could almost feel the advanced technology at work, meticulously scanning and cleansing them of any potential pathogens. As the glow faded, the team found themselves in a vast, gleaming corridor. The wall seemed to pulse with an inner light, and Roger couldn't shake the feeling that the ship itself was alive, watching them with curiosity. "This way," Zorthal gestured, leading them deeper into the vessel. Roger's team moved forward, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. Dr. Reeves ran her scanner over every surface they passed, her eyes wide with wonder. Hope walked close behind, her enhanced senses on high alert, ready for any potential threat. They entered a central chamber that took their breath away. Holographic displays filled the air, showing star systems, DNA strands, and complex equations that seemed to shift and change as they watched. At the center stood a control interface unlike anything Roger had ever seen, its surface rippling like water. Zorthal turned to face them, its form seeming to shimmer in the light of the displays. "What I am about to share with you will fundamentally change your understanding of your place in the universe." The being's words hung in the air for a moment before it continued. "Humans and Cardassians are not separate species that evolved independently. You were created by us, the progenitors, as part of a grand experiment." Roger felt his heart race as Zorthal explained the true nature of their origins. The holographic displays shifted, showing the intricacies of human and Cardassian DNA side by side. "We engineered your species to complement each other," Zorthal said. "Humans excel in physical adaptability and creative problem-solving, while Cardassians possess superior analytical skills and emotional resilience. Together, you have the potential to unlock a new stage of evolution." Before Roger could fully process this revelation, alarms blared throughout the ship. The holographic displays flickered, showing multiple vessels entering the system. "It appears news of your discovery has spread faster than anticipated," Zorthal observed, its voice calm despite the urgency of the situation. Roger's mind raced as he assessed the situation. "Those are human and Cardassian ships," he said, recognizing the designs. "If either side gets their hands on this technology, it could lead to war." He turned to Zorthal, an idea forming. "We need to broadcast the truth to both fleets simultaneously. Use your communication systems to send them irrefutable evidence of our shared origins." Zorthal nodded, impressed by Roger's quick thinking. "A bold plan. Let us hope it is enough to prevent conflict." As they worked to prepare the data package, Roger could see the approaching fleets on the displays. Some ships were already powering up their weapon systems. "We're cutting it close," Hope said, her enhanced vision picking up details the others couldn't see. Just as the fleets came within firing range, Roger initiated the broadcast. A pulse of energy emanated from the Progenitor ship, temporarily disabling the weapon systems of all nearby vessels. The chamber fell silent as the message was transmitted. Roger watched the displays intently, seeing confusion spread through both fleets as they received the data. "It's working," Dr. Reeves said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Look at their energy readings. They're standing down." Roger didn't waste a moment. He opened communication channels to the leaders of both fleets, his voice steady as he proposed an immediate ceasefire and the formation of a joint task force. As negotiations began, alarms blared once again. A small group of ships from both sides had broken formation, making a desperate run for the Progenitor vessel. "Extremists," Roger growled. "They won't accept the truth." But Zorthal was already moving. With a wave of its hand, a shimmering energy field enveloped the rogue ships, holding them in place without causing harm. "A gesture of our power," Zorthal said, "and our restraint." Roger nodded, turning his attention back to the negotiations. He could feel the weight of history on his shoulders as he worked to mediate between the fleet commanders, drawing on everything he had learned about both species. As the hours passed, the outline of an agreement began to take shape. A temporary truce, a joint scientific mission, the first steps toward a new era of cooperation between humans and Cardassians. But Roger knew this was just the beginning. As he looked around at his team, human and Cardassian working side by side, He realized the true challenge lay ahead. They would need to guide both species through the monumental changes to come, navigating the political, social, and technological upheavals that were sure to follow. The Progenitor ship hummed with energy, a tangible reminder of the advanced knowledge and technology now within their grasp. Roger took a deep breath, steadying himself for the work ahead. The path forward was uncertain, but for the first time in millennia, humans and Cardassians would walk it together. As Roger contemplated the monumental task ahead, the quiet hum of the Progenitor ship and urgent communication from the HSS horizon. Captain Gray, Lieutenant Commander Chen's voice crackled through the comm system, tension evident in his tone. "We have a situation. Admiral Blackwood has escaped from the brig." Roger's blood ran cold. He exchanged a quick glance with Dr. Reeves and hoped before addressing Chen. "How did this happen?" "Sir, it appears he had help. A small group of loyalists infiltrated the crew and assisted in his escape. We're conducting a full security sweep now, but Blackwood and his accomplices are no longer on board." Roger's mind raced, calculating the potential ramifications of this development. The fragile peace he had been working to establish was now at risk. He turned to Zorthal, who had been silently observing the exchange. "We need to act quickly," Roger said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Zorthal, can your technology help us track Blackwood's movements?" The Progenitor nodded, its form shimmering slightly. "We can provide advanced scanning capabilities to aid in your search." Without hesitation, Roger tapped his comm badge. "Commander Hawkins, report to the Progenitor ship immediately. We have a priority mission." Within minutes, Commander Sarah Hawkins materialized in the chamber, her posture rigid and alert. Roger quickly briefed her on the situation. "I'm putting you in charge of a joint human-Cardassian security team," he instructed. "Your mission is to track down Blackwood and his accomplices. Use the Progenitor scanning technology to your advantage." Hawkins nodded, her eyes gleaming with tenacity. "Understood. Sir, we'll find them." As Hawkins departed to assemble her team, Zorthal approached Roger. "Captain, in light of recent events, I believe it is time to take a bold step forward in our alliance." The Progenitor outlined a proposal to share a limited amount of their medical technology with both humans and Cardassians. Roger listened intently, recognizing the potential impact of such a gesture. "Dr. Reeves, Hope," he called out, "I need you two to review this medical technology. Focus on treatments that could benefit both our species without altering our genetic makeup." As the scientist and the enhanced humans set to work, alarms blared throughout the Progenitor ship. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing a massive energy signature at the edge of the system. "A wormhole," Zorthal confirmed, its voice tinged with curiosity. Roger's tactical mind immediately grasped the implications. He opened a channel to the leaders of the human and Cardassian fleets, quickly explaining the situation and proposing a joint operation to investigate the anomaly. "We'll use a Progenitor scout ship," he announced. "I want a mixed crew of humans and Cardassians. This is our chance to demonstrate what we can achieve together." As the scout ship prepared for launch, Roger received an update from Commander Hawkins. Her voice was tight with urgency. "Captain, we've detected an unauthorized shuttle launch from the horizon. It's Blackwood. He's heading straight for the wormhole." Roger's teeth clenched. He quickly relayed orders to both Hawkins and the scout ship crew. "Intercept Blackwood's shuttle. But be cautious. We don't know what's coming through that wormhole." The next few minutes were a blur of activity. Roger coordinated between multiple teams, his eyes darting between holographic displays, showing the pursuit of Blackwood's shuttle and the approaching anomaly. Suddenly, a massive ship emerged from the wormhole. It dwarfed even the largest vessels in the combined fleets, its design a strange fusion of Progenitor and unknown alien technology. "Sir," the scout ship's commander reported, all evident in his voice. The alien vessel is broadcasting on all frequencies. But the message, we can't decipher it. Before Roger could respond, another alarm sounded. Blackwood's shuttle had broken away from its pursuers and was making a beeline for the alien ship. He's going to make contact, Roger realized aloud. He turned to Zorthal, his mind racing. Can your technology decode that message? The Progenitor was already moving, its form blurring as it interfaced with the ship's systems. After a moment, it spoke. Partially. They called themselves the Nexus. They claimed to have been observing both humans and Cardassians for centuries. Roger absorbed this information, keenly aware that the next few moments could shape the future of not just two, but potentially three species. He took a deep breath, steadying himself for what was to come. Open a channel to the Nexus, he ordered, his voice firm. It's time for first contact. As the communications system hummed to life, Roger stood tall, ready to face whatever challenges this new development would bring. The fate of human-Cardassian relations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Balance. The fate of human-Cardassian relations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the air as Roger prepared to make first contact with the Nexus. But before he could utter a word, a priority alert flashed across the holographic displays. Admiral Blackwood's shuttle was closing in on the massive Nexus vessel at an alarming rate. Roger's mind raced, assessing the situation in seconds. He tapped his comm badge, his voice sharp with urgency. Scout ship, deploy tractor beam. Capture Blackwood's shuttle immediately. The mixed human-Cardassian crew of the Progenitor scout ship responded with practiced efficiency. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out, enveloping Blackwood's small craft just as it neared the hulking alien vessel. With the immediate threat contained, Roger turned his attention back to the looming challenge of first contact. He nodded to Zorthal, who interfaced with the ship's systems, amplifying their transmission capabilities. Roger took a deep breath, steadying himself. When he spoke, his voice carried across the vastness of space, a message of peace echoing through the combined frequencies of human, Cardassian, and Progenitor technology. I am Captain Roger Gray of the Human-Cardassian Alliance. We come in peace and with great curiosity. We have recently discovered our shared ancestry and stand here united with our Progenitor creators. We seek understanding and friendship with the Nexus. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, a massive tendril of energy extended from the Nexus ship, pulsing with otherworldly light. It touched the HSS horizon, and suddenly, the bridge was bathed in a soft, ethereal glow. A holographic figure materialized before them, towering and alien. Its form shifted and swirled, defying easy description. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. I am Zanvox, emissary of the Nexus. We have observed your kind for millennia, watching your development with great interest. Roger's eyes widened as Zanvox continued, explaining the true nature of the Nexus, a civilization so advanced they had transcended physical form, existing as pure energy and thought. Before Roger could fully process this revelation, alarms blared throughout the ship. Lieutenant Commander Chen's voice cut through the chaos. Captain, we're detecting massive energy surges from the Nexus vessel. Multiple ships in the fleet are losing power. Roger watched in horror as several human and Cardassian vessels began to drift, their systems overloaded by the alien energy. Panic spread through the fleet, captains calling for defensive measures. But Roger saw the situation differently. He raised his hand, calling for calm. This isn't an attack, he said, his voice steady. It's a test. He turned to face Zanvox, his expression resolute. We will not respond with fear or aggression. Instead, let us show you what we can achieve together. Roger's fingers flew over the control interface, coordinating a joint rescue operation. Human, Cardassian, and Progenitor ships moved in perfect synchronization, using tractor beams and emergency power transfers to stabilize the affected vessels. As the rescue unfolded, Dr. Reeves burst onto the bridge, her eyes alight with excitement. "Captain, we've made a breakthrough with the Progenitor medical technology. The treatment we're developing. It could potentially prepare our physiology for an energy-based existence, similar to the Nexus." Roger absorbed this information, recognizing both its potential and its dangers. Before he could respond, Commander Hawkins' voice came through the comm system, tense and urgent. "Sir, we've uncovered something big. Blackwood's escape wasn't just a rogue action. There's a conspiracy at play. Human and Cardassian extremists working together to sabotage the Alliance and steal advanced tech." The weight of command settled heavily on Roger's shoulders as he processed these simultaneous developments. He locked eyes with Zanvox, whose alien features seemed to ripple with curiosity. "You face a critical juncture," the Nexus emissary intoned. "We will remain to observe how you navigate these challenges. We offer knowledge, but be warned, such power can be a double-edged sword." Roger nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. He turned to his crew, his voice firm and clear. "Dr. Reeves, continue your research, but proceed with caution. We need to understand all implications before moving forward." He tapped his comm badge. "Commander Hawkins, I want a full investigation into this conspiracy. Coordinate with both human and Cardassian intelligence agencies. We'll root out this threat together." As Roger issued orders, reports flooded in from across human and Cardassian space. News of the Nexus arrival and the ongoing conspiracy had leaked, sparking protests and unrest on multiple worlds. Roger's mind raced, formulating a plan to address these mounting challenges. He knew that the next few hours would be crucial in shaping the future of both species and their place in the cosmos. He straightened his uniform, preparing to address the combined fleet. The fate of two civilizations rested on his ability to navigate this unprecedented situation. As he stepped forward, Roger Gray felt the weight of history on his shoulders, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As Roger stepped forward to address the combined fleet, the HSS Horizon's bridge erupted with urgent alerts. Lieutenant Commander Chen's voice cut through the commotion. "Captain, long-range sensors are picking up an unidentified craft approaching at high speed from the outer system." Roger's brow furrowed as he studied the holographic display. The vessel's design was unlike anything in their databases. Its hull configuration a puzzling mix of sharp angles and organic curves. "Broadcast our standard greeting on all frequencies," Roger ordered, his mind racing through potential scenarios. "And alert our Cardassian counterparts. We may need a joint response." Before Chun could comply, the strange craft began transmitting. The message that filled the bridge was a cacophony of sounds and static, punctuated by fragments of recognizable languages. "It's a distress call," Hope announced, her enhanced senses picking up patterns in the noise. "But it's using multiple galactic language bases. I've never seen anything like it." Roger made a split-second decision. "Lieutenant Webb," he called out to the skilled human pilot standing nearby. "Assemble a joint human Cardassian rescue team. Intercept that ship and render assistance." As Webb's team departed, Roger turned his attention back to the assembled fleet leaders, their faces a mix of concern and curiosity, on the monitor. "We have a developing situation," he began, his voice steady. "I propose we postpone our discussion and—" His words were cut short as Webb's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, you're not going to believe this. The alien ship, it's barely holding together. And there's only one occupant. It's unlike any species we've encountered." Roger's pulse quickened. "Bring it in, Webb. Use auxiliary hangar bay 3. I'm on my way." As Roger strode through the Horizon's corridors, he was joined by Dr. Elena Reeves and her medical team. They arrived at the hangar just as Webb's team finished docking procedures with the alien craft. The sight that greeted them was extraordinary. Through the battered viewports of the alien vessel, they could see a small, frail figure. Its body seemed to shimmer, almost translucent, with large, luminous eyes that dominated its delicate features. "Life support is critical," Webb reported, his voice tight with urgency. "We need to get it out now." As the rescue team carefully opened the alien craft, Dr. Reeves rushed forward, medical scanner in hand. The readings made her gasp. Severe malnutrition, cellular degradation from cosmic radiation. This being needs immediate treatment. Roger stepped closer, intending to offer reassurance to the alien. To his shock, the creature recoiled violently, emitting a high-pitched wail that sent shivers down his spine. "It's afraid of us," Roger realized, taking a step back. He turned to Dr. Reeves, who was frowning at her scanner. "Its hormone levels are off the charts," she explained. "I think it perceives us as predators, possibly an evolutionary response from its home ecosystem." Roger's mind raced, searching for a solution. His eyes fell on Hope, who had just entered the hangar. "Hope," he called out, "I need your help." As the Cardassian-human hybrid approached, the alien's distress visibly lessened. Hope's smaller stature and unique features seemed to put the creature at ease. "That's it," Roger encouraged softly. "Hope, see if you can coax it out. Dr. Reeves needs to administer treatment." With gentle movements and soothing sounds, Hope managed to guide the alien onto a medical gurney. As Dr. Reeves began her work, Roger noticed a small device clutched in the creature's spindly fingers. "Some kind of data storage," Lieutenant Chen observed, scanning it with his tricorder. "But the encryption is like nothing I've seen before." Roger nodded, his mind already formulating plans. "Get our best analysts on it, and contact our Cardassian allies. We'll need their expertise as well." As the medical team whisked the alien away for treatment, Roger tapped his comm badge. "All senior staff, report to the briefing room immediately." He cast one last look at the alien's battered ship before heading out. Something told him that this unexpected visitor was about to change everything. In the briefing room, Roger faced his assembled officers, their faces a mix of excitement and apprehension. "I don't need to tell you the significance of what's just happened," he began. "First contact with a new species, under extraordinary circumstances. But there's more to this than meets the eye." He nodded to Lieutenant Chun, who activated a holographic display of the alien's data device. "We've only scratched the surface of the encrypted data," Chun reported. "But what we've found is troubling. It appears to contain information about some kind of massive, planet-consuming entity." A murmur ran through the room. Roger held up a hand for silence. "We don't have all the facts yet, but it seems our visitor may be a refugee from a world destroyed by this entity. If that's true, we could be facing a threat that dwarfs our current concerns." He let that sink in for a moment before continuing. "I want round-the-clock work on decrypting that data, coordinate with our Cardassian allies. And I want regular updates on our guest condition." As the meeting adjourned, Roger received an urgent message from Commander Hawkins. His expression darkened as he read it. "Sir," Hawkins' voice was tight with frustration. "We've got a problem. Blackwood is spreading rumors about the alien. He's claiming it's all an elaborate hoax to manipulate the fleet." Roger's expression resolute. Of course Blackwood would try to undermine this. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to think clearly. "Commander, I want you to arrange a series of carefully controlled visits to our guest. Select representatives from both human and Cardassian ships. We need to counter Blackwood's narrative with the truth." As he ended the call, Roger stared out at the stars beyond the view screen. The arrival of their mysterious visitor had added new layers of complexity to an already volatile situation. He could feel the weight of command pressing down on him, heavier than ever before. With a determined set to his shoulders, Roger turned back to his duties. There was work to be done, alliances to strengthen, and a potential threat to the entire galaxy looming on the horizon. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them head-on. Roger's drive was palpable as he strode through the corridors of the HSS Horizon. The ship buzzed with activity, crew members rushing to their stations as news of the mysterious alien's arrival spread like wildfire. As he approached the medical bay, Roger's comm badge chirped. "Captain," Lieutenant Chen's voice came through, "we're receiving multiple requests from ships in the fleet. They're demanding information about our guest." Roger sighed, knowing this moment was inevitable. "Understood, Lieutenant. I'll address it shortly." The medical bay door slid open, revealing a flurry of activity. Dr. Reeves and her team hovered around a specialized containment unit, their faces a mix of concentration and wonder. Inside, the fragile form of their alien visitor lay motionless, its translucent skin shimmering under the medical sensors. "Status report, Doctor," Roger said, stepping closer to the unit. Dr. Reeves looked up, her eyes bright with excitement. "It's remarkable, Captain. The alien's physiology is unlike anything we've encountered. We've stabilized its condition, but there's still so much we don't understand." Roger nodded, his gaze fixed on the alien. "Does it pose any risk to the crew?" "None that we've detected so far," Dr. Reeves replied. "But we're maintaining quarantine protocols as a precaution." A commotion near the entrance drew their attention. Commander Hawkins entered, her expression grim. "Sir, we've got a situation brewing. Blackwood's rumors are gaining traction. Several captains are threatening to break formation if they're not allowed to verify our claims about the alien." Roger's expression resolute. He knew he had to act fast to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. "Commander, assemble a list of representatives from each ship in the fleet. We'll organize controlled visits to the medical bay." Turning to Dr. Reeves, he added, "Doctor, I need you to prepare a briefing on our visitor's condition. Keep it factual, but emphasize the potential significance of this encounter." As the medical team bustled to comply with his orders, Roger's eyes fell on Hope, who had been quietly observing from the corner. An idea formed in his mind. "Hope," he called out, "I have a special assignment for you. You'll act as our liaison between the alien and our visitors. Your unique background makes you ideal for this role." Hope nodded, her expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. "I'll do my best, Captain." Over the next few hours, small groups of representatives from various ships were escorted to the medical bay. Hope stood by the containment unit, her calm demeanor and clear explanations helping to ease the tension in the room. During one such visit, a human security officer named Sergeant Jack Harper stepped forward, his eyes wide with curiosity. As he approached the containment unit, the alien suddenly stirred, its luminous eyes fixing on Harper's communication device. "Wait," Dr. Reeves called out, her scanner whirring to life. The alien's neural activity just spiked. "Sergeant, can you activate your comm device again?" Harper complied, and the alien's reaction was immediate. Its body pulsed with a soft light, and a series of musical tones filled the air. "Fascinating," Dr. Reeves murmured, her fingers flying over her scanner. "It seems to be responding to specific electromagnetic frequencies. This could be a breakthrough in our attempts to communicate." As word of this development spread, Roger found himself facing a new challenge. The data analysis team working on the alien storage device had made a significant discovery. "Captain," Lieutenant Chen reported, his voice tight with excitement, "we've decrypted part of the data. It contains coordinates for a series of hidden outposts scattered throughout the galaxy. According to the information, these outposts were built by an ancient civilization as early warning systems against some kind of planet-consuming entity." Roger's mind raced with the implications. If this information was accurate, they could be facing a threat beyond anything they had encountered before. He knew he had to act quickly. Gathering his senior staff, Roger laid out his plan. Commander Hawkins, I want you to lead a team to investigate the nearest outpost. Take a Progenitor scout ship. Their cloaking technology should give us an edge. As Hawkins nodded and began assembling her team, Roger turned his attention to the growing political tensions within the fleet. He organized a council meeting with representatives from all factions, including the Progenitors and the Nexus. In the council chamber, tensions ran high as captains voiced their concerns and demands. Roger stood at the center, his voice steady as he addressed each point. Just as the debate threatened to boil over, Zanvox, the Nexus emissary, stepped forward. "We have encountered this entity before," Zanvox intoned, silencing the room. "Millennia ago, it threatened to consume all in its path. The danger your new ally speaks of is real." This revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled leaders. As the council grappled with this new information, Roger received an urgent communication from the medical bay. "Captain," Dr. Reeves' voice crackled over the comm, "you need to see this. Our test with the alien, it's not just responding to frequencies. It's manipulating them." Roger's eyes widened as he processed this information. He was about to respond when another alert cut through the air. "Captain Gray," Lieutenant Webb's voice was tense. "Long-range sensors have detected an energy signature matching the description of the planet-consuming entity. It's distant, but it's there." The council chamber erupted into chaos as this news spread. Roger stood firm, his mind racing to formulate a plan. As he opened his mouth to speak, his comm badge chirped once more. "Sir," Commander Hawkins' voice came through, tight with urgency. "We've arrived at the outpost coordinates. But we're not alone. There's an unknown alien force here, and they're scavenging the outpost technology. We need orders, Captain. Do we engage?" Roger felt the weight of command pressing down on him as he faced this critical decision. The fate of not just a fleet, but potentially the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. With a deep breath, he prepared to give his next order, knowing that whatever he chose would set them on a path from which there was no turning back. Roger took a deep breath, his mind racing as he processed a flood of information. Fleet, perhaps even the galaxy, hung in the balance. He tapped his comm badge, his voice steady despite the weight of the decision before him. "Commander Hawkins, proceed with caution. Engage only if absolutely necessary. Your primary objective is to gather intel on that outpost." "Understood, Captain," Hawkins replied, her voice crackling with static. Roger turned his attention back to the council chamber, where the assembled leaders waited anxiously for his next move. He raised his voice to be heard above the murmur of worried conversations. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face a crisis unlike any we've encountered before, but we will face it together." As Roger outlined his plan to investigate the outpost and counter Blackwood's influence, an urgent alert cut through the air. Lieutenant Webb's voice rang out over the comm system. "Captain, we've got a situation. Multiple ships are reporting mutinies in progress. It's Blackwood's people. They're making their move." Roger's expression hardened. He had anticipated Blackwood might try something, but not on this scale. "Webb, assemble a crisis response team. I want those mutinies contained." As Webb acknowledged the order, Roger's mind was already racing ahead to the next challenge. He needed to get to the bottom of the alien situation, and fast. In the medical bay, Dr. Reeves and her team worked feverishly to unlock the secrets of their mysterious visitor. The alien, which they had started calling Zephyr due to its ethereal appearance, lay motionless in the containment unit. Hope stood nearby, her unique physiology allowing her to act as a bridge between the humans and the alien. She watched intently as Dr. Reeves adjusted a series of instruments around Zephyr's enclosure. Suddenly, Zephyr's body pulsed with a soft light. A series of musical tones filled the air, more complex than before. Hope's eyes widened as she felt a strange resonance within her own body. "Doctor," she called out, her voice trembling slightly. I think it's trying to communicate." Dr. Reeves rushed over, her scanner whirring to life. "Fascinating," she murmured. "The alien seems to be manipulating electromagnetic frequencies in a highly sophisticated manner. This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for." As the medical team worked to decipher Zephyr's communication attempts, Commander Hawkins and her team found themselves in a tense standoff at the ancient outpost. The Progenitor scout ship's cloaking technology had allowed them to approach undetected, but as they neared the structure, they realized they weren't alone. A group of unknown aliens was already there, methodically stripping the outpost of its technology. "Hold position," Hawkins ordered, her voice low and tense. "Let's see what we're dealing with here." The unknown aliens move with purpose, their movements betraying a deep familiarity with advanced technology. Hawkins watched through the view screen, her mind racing as she tried to formulate a plan. Suddenly, one of the aliens looked up, its gaze seeming to pierce right through the scout ship's cloaking field. Hawkins felt a chill run down her spine as she realized their cover was blown. "Sensor alert," her tactical officer called out. "They've detected us somehow." Hawkins made a split-second decision. "Open a channel," she ordered. "Let's try diplomacy before this turns ugly." As the comm system crackled to life, Hawkins took a deep breath. "This is Commander Sarah Hawkins of the Human Cardassian Alliance. We come in peace, seeking information about this outpost and the threat it was built to combat." For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a gravelly voice responded. "I am Castor the Vrek. You trespass on our salvage operation, humans." Hawkins recognized an opportunity. "We're not here to interfere with your salvage, Castor. We seek knowledge that could save countless lives. Perhaps we could explore this outpost together, share what we learn." There was a pause, and Hawkins could almost feel the alien weighing his options. Finally, Castor spoke again. "Your proposal intrigues us, Commander. We accept your offer of cooperation. For now." As Hawkins' team prepared to disembark and meet the Vrek face-to-face, the situation back in the fleet was rapidly deteriorating. Admiral Blackwood, despite being in custody, had managed to activate a network of loyalists throughout the human and Cardassian ships. Coordinated mutinies erupted across multiple vessels, throwing the fleet into chaos. Roger Gray stood on the bridge of the HSS Horizon, his face grim as reports flooded in. Lieutenant Webb approached, his expression taut with worry. "Sir, the mutineers have taken control of 7 ships so far. They're forming a breakaway fleet and preparing to leave the system." Roger's mind raced, calculating the potential consequences. If the fleet fractured now, in the face of this unknown threat, they might all be doomed. He knew he had to act decisively. "Webb, assemble a team. We're going to confront these mutineers directly." As Webb hurried to comply, Roger turned to his communications officer. "Get me a secure channel to the Progenitor flagship. We're going to need their help for this." In the medical bay, Dr. Reeves made a breakthrough. Using Zephyr's unique ability to manipulate electromagnetic frequencies, she had developed a rudimentary translation device. As she activated it, Zephyr's musical tones transformed into halting but understandable speech. "Danger comes." Zephyr's translated voice echoed through the medical bay. "Void Devourer consumes all." Hope leaned in, her voice gentle but urgent. "Zephyr, what is a Void Devourer? How can we stop it?" As Zephyr began to explain, describing a swarm of microscopic machines that consume matter and energy on a massive scale, Roger Gray prepared for his most daring mission yet. Aboard a Progenitor shuttle equipped with advanced stealth technology, Roger led a small team towards the lead mutineer ship. Hope sat beside him, her unique abilities potentially crucial for the confrontation ahead. As they approached the rebel vessel, Roger's comm badge chirped. It was Commander Hawkins, her voice tight with urgency. "Captain, we've made a discovery at the outpost. There's a weapon here, something that might be able to stop the Void Devourer. But we've triggered some kind of security system. The outpost is emitting an energy pulse that's growing stronger by the minute." Roger's mind raced, processing this new information. The mutiny, the ancient weapon, the approaching threat. All these threads were converging, leading to a moment that would define not just the fate of their fleet, but potentially the entire galaxy. As the Progenitor shuttle closed in on the mutineer ship, Roger steeled himself for the confrontation ahead. Whatever happened next would shape the course of their desperate struggle against the Void Devourer. As the Progenitor shuttle approached the lead mutineer ship, Roger's tactical display lit up with a flurry of warnings. The rebel vessel's defenses flared to life, revealing a formidable array of weaponry that shouldn't have been there. "Captain," the shuttle's pilot called out, her voice tense. "They've got Progenitor shielding. Our weapons won't penetrate." Roger's mind raced, quickly assessing the situation. The mutineers had clearly been more prepared than he'd anticipated. A frontal assault was out of the question. "New plan," he announced, his voice steady despite the growing tension. "Target their communications array. If we can't take them out, we'll cut them off from their allies." The shuttle banked hard, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy pulses from the mutineer ship. Roger gripped his seat, feeling the G-forces as they maneuvered into position. "Fire when ready," he ordered. A burst of concentrated energy lanced out from the shuttle, striking the rebel ship's communication array with pinpoint accuracy. The structure crumpled, sending a shower of debris into space. "Direct hit, Captain," the tactical officer reported. "Their long-range communications are down." Roger nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Good work. Now let's see how they handle being on their own." Meanwhile, light years away, Commander Sarah Hawkins and her team stood in awe as the ancient outpost security system powered down. The pulsing energy that had threatened to alert the Void Devourer faded away, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. "We did it," Hawkins breathed, hardly daring to believe their luck. Castor, the Vrek leader, stepped forward, his gravelly voice filled with curiosity. "Look there, human. The wall is opening." As if responding to Castor's words, a section of the metallic wall began to shift and reconfigure. With a soft hiss, a hidden chamber was revealed, bathed in a soft blue light. Hawkins approached cautiously, her eyes widening as she took in the sight. The chamber was filled with holographic displays, each showing complex diagrams and streams of data. "This must be their command center," she murmured, her fingers hovering over one of the displays. As she touched it, the hologram sprang to life, filling the air with three-dimensional star charts and tactical simulations. "Commander," one of her team called out, "I think I've found something. It looks like a detailed account of their defensive strategies against the Void Devourer." Hawkins rushed over, her heart pounding with excitement. As she scanned the information, her excitement grew. This was exactly what they needed, a blueprint for survival. Back on the HSS Horizon, Dr. Elena Reeves worked feverishly, her eyes darting between her computer screen and the alien being they'd named Zephyr. The creature's body pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light as it manipulated the electromagnetic fields around it. "Fascinating," Reeves muttered, making rapid notes. "The precision of control is incredible. It's almost as if—" Her voice trailed off as a new thought struck her. She quickly pulled up data on the Void Devourer's swarm behavior. comparing it to Zephyr's electromagnetic manipulations. "Of course," she breathed, her eyes wide with realization. "It's a defense mechanism. Zephyr's species must have evolved this ability to counter the Void Devourer's swarm." Her fingers flew over the keyboard as she began to formulate a new theory. If they could replicate Zephyr's ability on a larger scale, they might have a chance against the approaching threat. As Reeves delved deeper into her research, a new arrival threw the fleet into fresh turmoil. A small group of ships dropped out of warp, their sleek designs marking them as Cardassian vessels. On the bridge of the horizon, Lieutenant Webb's console lit up with incoming transmissions. "Sir," he called out, "we're being hailed by the lead Cardassian ship. It's Captain Lissavarn." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a stern-faced Cardassian woman. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, scanned the bridge before settling on Webb. "This is Captain Lissavarn of the Cardassian Defense Force," she announced, her voice crisp and authoritative. "I bring reinforcements and news from our homeworlds. The situation is deteriorating rapidly. We must speak with Captain Gray immediately." As Webb relayed this information to Roger, the captain found himself reassessing his strategy. With Varn's ships, they now had a chance to completely cut off the mutineers. "Lieutenant," Roger's voice crackled over the comm, "inform Captain Varn of our situation. Have her position her ships to block the mutineers' escape routes. We'll squeeze them from both sides." As Varn's ships moved into position, the rebel fleet began to show signs of uncertainty. Several ships wavered, their formations breaking as the noose tightened around them. On the ancient outpost, Commander Hawkins and her team, along with their Vrek allies, poured over the wealth of information they'd discovered. As they delved deeper, a holographic projection suddenly sprang to life in the center of the room. The figure that appeared was unlike any alien they had encountered before. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but composed of intricate, swirling patterns of light. "Greetings," the hologram spoke, its voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. "I am Sentinel, the guardian of this outpost. You have proven yourselves worthy of the knowledge contained here." Hawkins stepped forward, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Sentinel, we face a great threat. Can you help us defeat the Void Devourer?" The hologram's form shimmered as it processed the question. "The Void Devourer is a formidable enemy, but not invincible. Our weapon was effective, but at a great cost. Its use could destabilize space-time itself, rendering entire systems uninhabitable." As Sentinel continued to explain the intricacies of the ancient weapon and the Void Devourer's weaknesses, Hawkins felt a mix of hope and dread. They had a chance, but at what cost? Aboard the Progenitor shuttle, Roger received Hawkins' transmission. His face grew grim as he absorbed the implications of the information. The mutiny was nearly quelled, but this new knowledge presented an even greater dilemma. Before he could fully process this information, Lieutenant Webb's voice cut through the comm channel, his tone urgent. "Captain, long-range sensors have detected a change in the Void Devourer's course. It's heading directly for the core worlds of human and Cardassian space." Roger's mind raced, weighing the immediate threat of the mutiny against the looming danger of the Void Devourer. The decisions he would make in the next few moments would shape the fate of not just their fleet, but possibly the entire galaxy. As he opened his mouth to give his next order, Roger knew that whatever path he chose, there would be no turning back. The true test of their alliance and their perseverance was about to begin. The true test of their alliance and their perseverance was about to unfold. Roger Gray's voice cut through the tense silence of the Progenitor shuttle. "All teams, prepare for boarding action. We're taking the fight to Blackwood." The shuttle's cloaking field shimmered as it approached the lead mutineer ship. Roger turned to Hope, his expression grim. "I need you to infiltrate their systems. Be ready to neutralize any surprises Blackwood might have prepared." Hope nodded, her eyes already unfocused as she reached out with her unique abilities, feeling for the digital pathways of the rebel vessel. The shuttle docked with a soft thud, and Roger's team moved swiftly. Progenitor phase shifters allowed them to pass through the hull undetected. They emerged in a dimly lit corridor, the ship's red alert status casting an eerie glow. "Move out," Roger whispered, his particle rifle at the ready. They encountered the first group of mutineers near a junction. Roger's team, armed with progenitor stun weapons, made quick work of them. The conflict was brief but intense, ending with unconscious rebels and no casualties. As they fought their way towards the bridge, Roger couldn't help but admire the efficiency of his team. Humans and Cardassians working in perfect sync, covering each other's blind spots and communicating with silent hand signals. Meanwhile, on the ancient outpost, Commander Sarah Hawkins and her team raced against time. The hidden chamber pulsed with holographic displays, each one a treasure trove of information. "Focus on the weapon schematics," Hawkins ordered, her fingers flying over an alien console. "We need every detail on that energy deflector." Castor, the Vrek leader, moved with surprising agility for his bulky frame. His gravelly voice carried a hint of excitement. "Human, look at this. It appears to be a power matrix for the deflector." Hawkins rushed over, her eyes widening as she took in the complex diagrams. This could be the key to redirecting the Void Devourer. "Good work, Castor." Back on the HSS Horizon, Dr. Elena Reeves stood before a hastily assembled group of scientists and engineers. The prototype of her electromagnetic pulse generator hummed softly in the background. "The principle is sound," she explained, gesturing to a holographic display. "By replicating Zephyr's unique abilities on a larger scale, we can disrupt the Void Devourer's swarm cohesion." One of the Cardassian scientists leaned forward, his eyes narrow with concentration. "But can we generate a field large enough to affect the entire swarm?" Reeves nodded, a determined glint in her eye. "That's our next challenge. We need to scale this up, and fast." As these events unfolded, Captain Lissa Varn's loyalist Cardassian fleet took up strategic positions around the mutineer ships. Her flagship, the CGS Galer, loomed menacingly in the view screens of the rebel vessels. Varn's voice crackled over the comms, addressing the mutineers directly. "This is your last chance to stand down. The threat we face is greater than any of our past conflicts. United, we have a chance. Divided, we fall." Her words, coupled with the imposing presence of her fleet, sent ripples of doubt through the rebel ranks. Several mutineer ships powered down their weapons, their crews realizing the futility of their actions in the face of the greater threat. On the bridge of the lead mutineer ship, Admiral Blackwood watched with growing desperation as his rebellion crumbled around him. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he barked orders to his dwindling loyal crew. The bridge doors hissed open and Roger Gray stepped through, his team fanning out behind him. Their weapons were raised but not firing, a show of strength tempered with restraint. "It's over, Admiral," Roger said, his voice firm but not unkind. "Stand down." Blackwood's hand hovered over a concealed panel on his command chair. "You don't understand, Gray. The Cardassians can't be trusted. This alliance will be the death of humanity." Roger took a step forward, his eyes locked on Blackwood's. "You're wrong, Admiral. Look around you. Look at what we've accomplished together. The Void Devourer is coming, and it doesn't care about our past conflicts. If we don't stand united, there won't be a humanity left to save." As Roger spoke, Hope's voice whispered in his ear through the comms. "Captain, I've neutralized the ship's self-destruct sequence. Blackwood can't activate it." Roger allowed himself a small nod of acknowledgement before continuing. "We have a chance, Admiral. A real chance to save not just our worlds, but the entire galaxy. But only if we work together." Blackwood's perseverance visibly wavered. His eyes darted around the bridge. taking in the determined faces of Roger's team, the silent condemnation of his own crew, and the looming presence of the Cardassian fleet outside. With a deep, shuddering sigh, Blackwood's hand fell away from the hidden panel. I surrender. As the words left his mouth, a palpable wave of relief washed over the bridge. Roger stepped forward, placing a hand on Blackwood's shoulder. You've made the right choice, Admiral. Now, let's save our people. With the mutiny quelled, Roger wasted no time in addressing the combined fleet. His voice rang out across every ship, human and Cardassian alike. We stand at a crossroads, he began, his words measured and clear. The threat we face is unlike anything in our history, but we are not without hope. He outlined the discoveries made at the ancient outpost, the potential of Dr. Reeves' electromagnetic pulse technology, and the invaluable assistance of their new allies. As he spoke, a sense of purpose began to ripple through the fleet. Just as Roger finished his address, Lieutenant Webb's voice cut through the comm channel. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy signature at the edge of the system. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Roger's mind raced, processing this new information. He knew that the next few moments would be crucial. The mutiny was over, but the real battle was just beginning. All ships, battle stations, he ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. This is not a drill. The Void Devourer is here. As klaxons blared across the fleet and crews scrambled to their posts, Roger turned to Hope. Contact Commander Hawkins. Tell her to get back here with everything she's found. And get me Dr. Reeves. We need that pulse generator operational now. The combined human Cardassian fleet began to move into formation, preparing for the greatest threat they had ever faced. As tension mounted and final preparations were made, Roger Gray stood on the bridge of the HSS Horizon, his gaze fixed on the interface where the first tendrils of the Void Devourer were becoming visible. The moment of truth had arrived. The fate of multiple civilizations hung in the balance, and the actions taken in the next few hours would determine whether they would stand or fall before the cosmic horror that approached the edge of known space. The fleet sensors lit up with warnings as the first tendrils of the cosmic horror became visible. All ships, assume defensive formation Alpha, Roger commanded, his voice steady despite the tension evident in his posture. Dr. Reeves, status on the electromagnetic pulse generator? Online and ready, Captain. Elena's voice crackled through the comm. We're routing power now. The HSS Horizon moved into position at the center of the fleet's formation, its modified systems humming with energy. Around it, human and Cardassian ships took up their assigned positions, weapons primed and shields at maximum strength. Captain Varn, take point with your fastest ships, Roger ordered. We'll need your maneuverability to probe for weaknesses in the Devourer's advanced forces. Understood, Captain Gray. Lissa Varn's voice was cool and professional. Cardassian wing moving into position now. As the Void Devourer's vanguard entered the system, Roger initiated the first phase of their defense. Launch modified torpedoes, all ships. Target the leading edge of the swarm. A barrage of energy weapons lanced out from the combined fleet, striking the approaching tendrils of the cosmic entity. The torpedoes, enhanced with data from the ancient outpost, detonated in brilliant flashes of light. Gaps appeared in the Devourer's formation, sections of its swarm momentarily destabilized. Direct hit, Lieutenant Webb called out. We're seeing a 15% reduction in swarm density in the affected areas. Roger allowed himself a small nod of satisfaction, but his expression remained grim. Keep up the pressure. Don't let them regroup. However, the Void Devourer's adaptability quickly became apparent. The gaps in its formation closed rapidly, the swarm shifting and reforming to minimize the impact of subsequent attacks. Sir, the entity is adapting to our weapon patterns, Webb reported, his voice tense. Effectiveness of torpedo, strikes dropping to 8%. Now 5%. Roger's mind raced, assessing their options. Dr. Reeves, we need that pulse generator now. Zephyr's involvement could be the key. In the medical bay of the Horizon, Elena Reeves worked feverishly to finalize the connection between Zephyr and the electromagnetic pulse generator. The alien's condition had improved dramatically, and it now floated serenely in a specialized containment unit, tendrils of energy pulsing around its form. Zephyr, are you ready? Elena asked, her hand hovering over the activation switch. The alien's response came as a soft vibration in the air, a feeling of affirmation rather than words. Elena nodded and flipped the switch. On the bridge, Roger watched as a massive electromagnetic field blossomed from the horizon, enveloping the entire fleet in a shimmering barrier of energy. As the field expanded to meet the advancing Void Devourer, the effect was immediate and dramatic. Portions of the cosmic swarm began to lose cohesion, individual units drifting apart and becoming inert. The Devourer's advance slowed, its formation wavering under the onslaught of the electromagnetic disruption. "It's working," Webb exclaimed, down by 30% and falling. Roger leaned forward in his chair, eyes fixed on the tactical display. "All ships advance. Use the electromagnetic field as cover and press our advantage." The combined human Cardassian fleet surged forward, driving deep into the Void Devourer's disruptive formation. Captain Varn's ships led the charge, their modified weapon systems cutting through the destabilized swarm particles with deadly efficiency. For a moment, it seemed as if victory was within reach. But the Void Devourer was far from defeated. As the Allied fleet pressed its attack, the cosmic entity demonstrated its incredible adaptability once again. Dense clusters began to form within the swarm, resisting the effects of the electromagnetic field. These clusters launched vicious counterattacks, targeting weak points in the fleet's formation. Multiple ships reporting heavy damage. Webb called out, his voice strained. "The Devourer is concentrating its attacks on our flanks." Roger gripped the arms of his chair, mind racing to find a solution. It was then that Commander Sarah Hawkins' voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, I have a proposal," she said, her tone urgent but controlled. "We can use the data from the ancient outpost to create a targeted gravitational distortion. It could trap and isolate a portion of the swarm for study." Roger considered the idea quickly. It was risky, but they needed every advantage they could get. "Do it, Commander. What do you need?" "We'll need to modify several ships' propulsion systems to generate a localized spatial distortion," Hawkins explained. "It's delicate work, but it could give us the insight we need to find a permanent solution." As Hawkins and her team began their preparations, the Void Devourer seemed to sense the threat posed by the Horizon and its electromagnetic pulse generator. A massive tendril of the cosmic horror broke away from the main body, heading straight for Roger's flagship. "Evasive maneuvers," Roger ordered, but he knew the Horizon couldn't outrun the approaching threat. "All non-essential personnel, evacuate to supporting ships immediately." As the crew scrambled to follow his orders, Roger stood on the bridge of the Horizon, watching the apocalyptic scene unfold before him. The fate of multiple civilizations hung in the balance, and the actions taken in the next few moments would determine whether they would stand or fall before the cosmic horror that now threatened to engulf them all. Roger's eyes narrowed as he watched the massive tendril of the Void Devourer bearing down on the horizon. Time seemed to slow as he weighed his options, knowing that the next few seconds could determine the fate of not just his ship, but the entire Allied fleet. All power to forward shields. He barked, gripping the arms of his command chair. "Helm, prepare for evasive pattern Delta. 3 on my mark." As the crew scrambled to comply, a crackling transmission cut through the tension on the bridge. "Captain Gray, this is Commander Hawkins. We're ready to initiate the gravitational trap maneuver." Roger's eyes lit up, Execute immediately, Commander. We'll buy you the time you need. The instant Hawkins acknowledged, Roger gave the order to initiate the evasive maneuver. The horizon lurched violently, narrowly avoiding the full brunt of the Void Devourer's attack. As the ship corkscrewed through space, Roger watched the tactical display with nervous excitement. Multiple ships across the fleet, human, Cardassian, and Vrek alike, activated their modified propulsion systems in perfect synchronization. The effect was immediate and awe-inspiring. A shimmering distortion rippled through space, warping the very fabric of reality around a significant portion of the Void Devourer's swarm. Gravitational trap holding steady, Lieutenant Webb reported, his voice tight with concentration. We've successfully isolated approximately 23% of the enemy swarm. Roger allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before refocusing on the battle at hand. Excellent work. Dr. Reeves, begin your analysis immediately. We need to find a weakness in this thing and fast. In the makeshift laboratory hastily set up on the horizon, Elena Reeves and her team pored over the incoming data. Holographic displays flickered with complex patterns and energy signatures as they studied the behavior of the trapped swarm segment. There's definitely a pattern here, Elena muttered, her fingers dancing across the interface. Look at these energy fluctuations. They're too organized to be random. One of her assistants, a young Cardassian scientist, leaned in for a closer look. Doctor, I'm detecting an unusual energy signature at the core of the trap segment. It appears to be acting as some sort of localized control node. Elena's eyes widened. That could be our key. If we can disrupt these control nodes, we might be able to destabilize the entire swarm. Back on the bridge, Roger was coordinating a daring offensive. Captain Varn, Castor, form up your ships into a wedge formation. We're going to punch a hole right through this thing's defenses. As the Cardassian and Vrek vessels moved into position, Roger outlined his plan. Our goal is to create an opening for a strike team to penetrate deep into the Void Devourer's main body. We believe there's a central intelligence controlling the swarm, and we need to take it out. The fleet surged forward, their weapons blazing. The combined firepower of the Allied ships, coupled with the disruptive effect of the Horizon's electromagnetic pulse generator, carved a path through the swirling chaos of the Void Devourer's form. However, the constant output was taking its toll. Dr. Reeves' voice came through the comm, urgency evident in her tone. Captain, Zephyr's vital signs are becoming erratic. We can't maintain this level of output for much longer without risking permanent damage. Roger's mind focused. They were so close, but the window of opportunity was rapidly closing. He made his decision. Prep a shuttle with the experimental progenitor shielding. Lieutenant Webb, assemble a strike team. You're going in. As Webb quickly gathered a team of elite human and Cardassian operatives, along with a Vrek technology expert named Zixval, Roger received another urgent communication. Captain, the gravitational trap is destabilizing, Commander Hawkins reported, her voice strained. We're doing everything we can to reinforce it, but it won't hold indefinitely. Roger watched as the strike team's shuttle launched, plunging into the chaotic maelstrom of the Void Devourer's main body. The experimental shielding held, allowing them to penetrate deeper than any ship had before. We're tracking the energy signature, Captain. Webb's voice crackled through the comm. Resistance is heavy, but we're making progress. As the shuttle pushed further into the swarm, the situation on the horizon grew dire. Zephyr's condition deteriorated rapidly, causing fluctuations in the protective electromagnetic field surrounding the fleet. Roger faced an impossible choice: risk Zephyr's life to maintain their advantage, or withdraw and potentially doom the entire operation. Before he could make his decision, a massive energy signature appeared on the edge of the battlefield. A colossal Nexus vessel materialized, its sleek form dwarfing even the largest ships in the Allied fleet. This is Zanvox of the Nexus. A melodious voice resonated through the comm channels. We have observed your valor in the face of this cosmic threat. We offer our assistance in your time of need. The Nexus vessel projected a powerful energy field that stabilized the faltering gravitational trap and reinforced the fleet's defenses. Advanced energy projectors deployed from the ship, systematically disrupting larger sections of the Void Devourer's swarm. With renewed hope, Roger adjusted his strategy. Captain Varn Castor, coordinate your attacks with the Nexus vessel. Create openings for our strike team to push through. As the battle raged on, the strike team's shuttle neared its target. Lieutenant Webb's voice crackled through the comm once more, filled with a mix of awe and tenacity. Captain, we have visual on what appears to be a central hub. It's surrounded by an incredibly dense cluster of organized swarm particles. Roger leaned forward in his chair, every muscle tense. This is it, people. The fate of multiple civilizations rests on what happens next. Lieutenant Webb, you have a go for final assault on the central hub. As the strike team prepared for their crucial mission, the combined forces of humans, Cardassians, Vrek, and Nexus held the line against the relentless swarm. The battle hung in the balance, with the next few moments poised to determine the future of the galaxy. As the shuttle carrying Lieutenant Webb and his strike team neared the central hub of the Void Devourer, Webb's eyes narrowed, assessing the dense cluster of swarm particles surrounding their target. The swirling mass of cosmic horror before them seemed impenetrable, its defenses formidable and unyielding. This is Webb, he called over the comm. Captain, we can't break through with the shuttle. We're going to have to improvise. Without waiting for a response, Webb turned to his team. We're abandoning ship. Suit up and prepare for individual thrust pack deployment. The team exchanged grim looks, but moved quickly to comply. As they donned their specialized gear, Webb outlined the plan. We'll use the shuttle as a distraction. Once we launch, it'll continue on its current trajectory. That should give us a chance to slip through the gaps in the swarm's defenses. Moments later, the strike team launched from the shuttle's airlock, their thrust packs propelling them into the chaotic maelstrom of the Void Devourer's form. Webb led the way, expertly navigating through narrow openings in the swarm structure. The team followed, their movements precise and coordinated. Back on the HSS horizon, alarms blared as Dr. Elena Reeves monitored Zephyr's rapidly deteriorating condition. The alien's form pulsed erratically, its energy output fluctuating wildly. Captain, Elena's voice crackled over the comm. We're losing Zephyr. I need to initiate an emergency procedure to save its life and maintain our defenses. Roger's response was immediate. Do what you have to, Doctor. We can't lose that electromagnetic field. Elena nodded to her team, and they sprang into action. Initiating transfer to ship-integrated conduits, she announced, her fingers flying across the control panel. As the procedure began, the electromagnetic field surrounding the fleet began to flicker and waver. Gaps appeared in the defensive perimeter, allowing tendrils of the Void Devourer's swarm to slip through. On the bridge of her flagship, Captain Lissa Varn reacted swiftly to the new threat. All Cardassian vessels, form up around the horizon. Defensive pattern Theta 9. The Cardassian ships move with practiced precision, creating a protective shell around the vulnerable human vessel. Simultaneously, Castor's voice rang out over the comm channels. Vrek squadrons, intercept those breaching swarm particles. Don't let them near our allies. The sleek Vrek vessels darted forward, their advanced weaponry slicing through the encroaching swarm elements with surgical precision. At the heart of the Void Devourer, Webb and his team finally reached the central hub. Before them loomed a massive, pulsating structure, its surface a constantly shifting tapestry of organized swarm particles. At its core, a crystalline object emitted complex patterns of energy that seemed to ripple outward through the entire swarm. That's got to be the control center, Webb muttered, gesturing towards the crystal. We take that out, we might just end this nightmare. As the team prepared to advance, the swarm particles around them began to coalesce, forming humanoid shapes that moved to block their path. These swarm constructs attacked with startling speed and ferocity, their forms regenerating almost instantly from any damage inflicted upon them. "Zixval!" Webb called out as he ducked under a swinging tendril of swarm particles. "Tell me you've got something up your sleeve for this." The Vrek technology expert nodded, pulling a sleek device from his pack. Prototype weapon, based on the ancient outpost data. Should disrupt their cohesion temporarily. Zixval aimed the device at the nearest swarm construct and fired. A focused beam of energy lanced out, causing the construct to lose its form and dissipate into a cloud of inert particles. "It works!" Webb exclaimed. "Everyone, form up behind Zixval. We're punching through to that crystal." As the strike team fought their way towards the core, the situation on the HSS horizon grew increasingly dire. The transfer of Zephyr's abilities neared completion, stabilizing the ship's systems, but significantly reducing the power of the protective electromagnetic field. Roger Gray's voice cut through the chaos on the bridge. "Nexus vessel, we need you at the front. Use your energy projectors to shore up our defenses." The massive Nexus ship glided forward, its advanced technology creating a shimmering barrier of energy that helped to fill the gaps left by the weakened electromagnetic field. Suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet as the gravitational trap containing the isolated segment of the Void Devourer's swarm began to fail. "Containment field collapsing." Commander Sarah Hawkins' voice rang out. "I'm initiating an emergency overload. Brace for impact." A blinding flash erupted from the containment field generators, followed by a massive shockwave that tore through space. The released swarm particles were thrown into disarray, but several Allied ships also sustained heavy damage from the blast. In the heart of the Void Devourer, Webb and his team finally reached the crystal core. The lieutenant quickly assessed the structure, his mind racing to formulate a plan. "Zixval, keep those constructs off us," he ordered. "Everyone else, plant charges at these key points. We're going to shatter this thing and hope it takes the whole swarm down with it." As the team moved to execute Webb's plan, the battle raged on around them. The fate of the stars hung in the balance, with the success or failure of their mission poised to determine the outcome of this cosmic conflict. Webb's hands moved swiftly, placing the last explosive charge on the crystal surface. He looked up at his team, their faces set with unshakable focus behind their visors. "Charges set. On my mark, we detonate and make a run for it. Let's hope this works, or we're all in for a world of hurt." His finger hovered over the detonator, the weight of countless lives resting on this single moment of action. The crystal pulsed before them, its eerie light casting long shadows as the swarm constructs pressed ever closer, held at bay only by Zixval's tireless efforts with the disruptor weapon. Webb's finger pressed down on the detonator. But before the charges could ignite, a massive electromagnetic pulse rocked the team. Their suit systems flickered, and for a heart-stopping moment, Webb feared the detonator had failed. "Everyone, status report," he barked, fighting to regain his balance. The team's responses came in a jumble of static and half-formed words. Webb realized with growing dread that their communications were compromised. He gestured frantically to his team, pointing at the crystal core and miming an explosion. Understanding dawned on their faces, and they began to fall back, preparing for the imminent blast. But the swarm constructs weren't about to let them go so easily. The humanoid shapes surged forward, their forms rippling and reshaping as they advanced. Zixval raised his disruptor, its barrel glowing an ominous red from overuse. "The weapon cannot sustain this output," the Vrek shouted, his normally melodious voice strained with effort. Webb gritted his teeth, his mind racing for a solution. Just as the situation seemed most dire, a series of brilliant flashes erupted around them. The team's eyes widened as they recognized the telltale signs of electromagnetic pulse grenades. The swarm constructs nearest to them lost cohesion, their particles scattering in a chaotic dance. Webb seized the opportunity, gesturing for his team to move towards the core while the path was clear. As they advanced, Webb caught sight of a familiar figure through the dissipating swarm particles. Commander Sarah Hawkins, her face set in fierce dedication, led a small rescue team towards them. Their arrival was like a breath of fresh air in the suffocating chaos of the battle. "Webb!" Hawkins called out, her voice barely audible over the din of the fight. "We're here to get you out. What's the situation?" Webb pointed urgently at the crystal core. "Charges are set, but our comms are down. We need to detonate and get clear." Hawkins nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. She turned to her pilot, shouting orders that were lost in the cacophony of the battle. The rescue shuttle began to move, its reinforced hull pushing through the reforming swarm constructs like a battering ram. "Everyone, to the shuttle," Webb ordered, his voice hoarse from exertion. The strike team sprinted towards their salvation, Zixval bringing up the rear. The Vrex disruptor sputtered and died, smoke curling from its overheated components. Without breaking stride, Zixval tossed the useless weapon aside and ran faster. As the last team member clambered aboard, Webb turned back towards the crystal core. He pulled out a backup detonator, praying it would work where the first had failed. With a deep breath, he activated the device and hurled it towards the explosive charges. "Go, go, go!" he yelled, diving into the shuttle as its doors began to close. Hawkins didn't need to be told twice. She slammed the throttle forward, and the shuttle lurched away from the crystal core. Behind them, a blinding flash erupted, followed by a shockwave that buffeted the small craft. The shuttle's occupants were thrown about as Hawkins fought to maintain control. Through the view screen, they watched in awe as the crystal core shattered, releasing a surge of energy that rippled outward through the entire Void Devourer. "Look!" one of the team members gasped, pointing at the swarm outside. The once-coordinated mass of particles was breaking apart, losing the cohesion that had made it so formidable. Large sections of the swarm drifted aimlessly, no longer part of a unified whole. As they emerged from the Void Devourer's disintegrating form, Webb's eyes widened at the sight before him. The Allied fleet, a patchwork of human, Cardassian, Vrek, and Nexus vessels, was unleashing a relentless barrage on the weakened enemy. The shuttle's comm system crackled to life, Captain Gray's voice filling the small craft. "Commander Hawkins, Lieutenant Webb, do you copy? What's your status?" "We're alive, Captain," Hawkins responded, relief evident in her voice. "Mission accomplished. The Void Devourer's central intelligence has been neutralized." A cheer went up in the shuttle, but it was short-lived. Alarms began blaring, and the craft lurched violently. "What's happening?" Webb demanded, steadying himself against a bulkhead. Hawkins' hands flew over the controls, her face pale. "The destruction of the core has created a massive gravitational distortion. It's pulling us in." Outside, the remnants of the Void Devourer were collapsing in on themselves, creating a swirling vortex of cosmic debris. The shuttle's engines whined in protest as Hawkins pushed them to their limits, fighting against the intensifying gravitational pull. "All ships, immediate withdrawal." Captain Gray's voice came through the comm, tight with urgency. "Get clear of the distortion field." Webb watched helplessly as the Allied fleet began to retreat. Some of the more damaged vessels struggled to break free, their engines flaring brightly against the backdrop of space. In the shuttle, Hawkins fought a losing battle against the growing gravitational force. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she wrestled with the controls, trying to plot a course out of danger. "Webb," she called out, her voice strained, "I need options. Our engines can't overcome this pull." Lieutenant Webb scanned the shuttle systems, searching desperately for anything that might give them an edge. The gravitational distortion loomed larger in the view screen, a maw of swirling energy threatening to swallow them whole. As the shuttle was dragged closer to the heart of the collapsing Void Devourer, Webb and his team faced their greatest challenge yet. With their fate hanging in the balance, they needed to find a way out, and fast. Fast. With their fate hanging in the balance, they needed to find a way out, and quickly. "We can't fight this pull," Hawkins grunted, her fist clenched as she gripped the controls. "We need a miracle." As if in answer to her words, the calm crackled to life with Captain Gray's voice. "Horizon to shuttle. We're initiating emergency protocols. Stand by." Through the view screen, Webb watched in awe as the HSS Horizon maneuvered into position between the expanding distortion and the struggling vessels. The ship's hull glowed with an eerie blue light as its newly integrated electromagnetic pulse generator roared to life, creating a stabilizing field that pushed back against the gravitational forces. "Incredible," Zixval murmured, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the shimmering barrier. The shuttle's descent towards the distortion slowed, but they weren't out of danger yet. Alarms continued to blare as the engine sputtered and strained against the immense gravitational pull. On the bridge of the HSS Horizon, Roger Gray stood at the center of barely controlled chaos. "Dr. Reeves, status report on the electromagnetic field." Elena Reeves' fingers flew across her console, her face illuminated by the glow of rapidly scrolling data. "The field is holding, but we're drawing power from everywhere we can. Life support, weapons, even the coffee makers. We can't maintain this indefinitely." Gray nodded grimly. "It doesn't need to be indefinite. Just long enough." He opened the channel to the fleet. "Captain Varn, we need that rescue operation now." Lissa Varn's voice came through, steady and determined. "Already on it, Captain. Cardassian ships are forming the chain now. We'll have your people out soon." Outside, the Cardassian vessels moved with practiced precision, linking together with tractor beams to create a lifeline for the struggling ships. One by one, damaged vessels latched onto the chain, slowly but surely being pulled to safety. In the shuttle, Hawkins fought to keep them stable as the Horizon's electromagnetic field gave them some breathing room. But it wasn't enough. The shuttle's engines whined in protest, pushing themselves to the breaking point. Webb's mind raced, searching for a solution. His eyes fell on the fuel gauge, and an idea struck him. "Commander, I have a plan. It's risky, but it might be our only shot." Hawkins glanced at him, her expression a mix of desperation and hope. "I'm all ears, Lieutenant. We vent our remaining fuel in a controlled burn," Webb explained quickly. "Use it for one last propulsive boost. It might be enough to get us clear of the distortion's pull." Hawkins considered for a split second before nodding. "Do it. We're out of options, and I'd rather go out fighting than get swallowed by that thing." Webb turned to Zixval. "I need your help. We can use your knowledge of Vrek tech to optimize the burn." The Vrek nodded, moving swiftly to assist. Together, they worked to modify the shuttle's fuel systems, their precision. As they prepared for their desperate maneuver, the situation on the HSS Horizon grew increasingly dire. The ship groaned under the strain, its hull creaking ominously as it fought against the gravitational forces. "Captain, we've got multiple hull breaches on decks 3 through 7, a crewman reported, his voice tight with tension. "Power relays are failing across the ship." Gray's eyes sharp as he surveyed the damage reports flooding in. He knew what had to be done. Initiate evacuation protocols for all non-essential personnel. Transfer them to the stable ships in the fleet. As the order went out, the bridge crew exchanged grim looks. They all knew what it meant. Gray was preparing for the possibility that the Horizon might not survive this rescue attempt. Back in the shuttle, Webb and Zixval finished their modifications. "We're ready, Commander," Webb reported. "On your mark." Hawkins took a deep breath, her hands poised over the controls. "All right, people. Hold on to something. This is going to be rough." She engaged the modified fuel system, and the shuttle lurched violently as its remaining fuel ignited in a controlled burn. The small craft shot forward, straining against the pull of the distortion. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed like it might not be enough. The shuttle shuddered, caught between the opposing forces of its desperate thrust and the relentless pull of the collapsing Void Devourer. Then, just as hope began to fade, a massive shadow fell over them. The Nexus vessel, thought to have withdrawn from the battle, had returned. Its enormous form blocked out the stars as it positioned itself near the struggling horizon. Zanvox's voice came through the comm, resonating with an otherworldly calm. "We have decided that more direct action is necessary to preserve your species. We offer our assistance." The Nexus ship extended its energy field, merging with the horizon's electromagnetic barrier. The combined power of the two vessels created a stable corridor through the chaos of the battlefield. "Now's our chance," Hawkins called out. Full power to engines. The shuttle surged forward, riding the last of its improvised fuel burn. They passed through the energy corridor, scraping against debris as they cleared the danger zone. Behind them, the gravitational distortion continued to grow, swallowing the remnants of the Void Devourer. As they emerged on the other side, they were greeted by the sight of the Allied fleet regrouping at a safe distance. The damaged ships had been successfully rescued, thanks to the combined efforts of the Cardassian chain and the Horizon sacrifice. Webb let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. They had made it, but as he looked at the battered horizon through the view screen, he knew the cost had been high. The comm crackled to life once more, Captain Gray's voice filled with a mix of relief and grit. "All ships, report status, and prepare for a briefing. This battle may be over, but we have a lot to discuss about what comes next." As the shuttle made its way towards the rallying point of the fleet, Webb couldn't help but wonder what challenges awaited them in the aftermath of this hard-won victory. The Void Devourer had been defeated, but the scars of the battle would not fade quickly, and the questions raised by its existence lingered unanswered. As the shuttle docked with the least damaged ship in the fleet, the HSS Valiant, Webb and his team were immediately ushered to the medical bay for examination. The adrenaline of their narrow escape began to fade, replaced by a bone-deep weariness and the first twinges of pain from injuries sustained during the mission. Captain Roger Gray strode purposefully through the corridors of the Valiant, his mind racing with the implications of their victory and the challenges that lay ahead. He entered the conference room where the Allied leaders had gathered, their faces a mixture of relief and concern. "Gentlemen, ladies," Gray began, taking his seat at the head of the table. "We've won a significant battle today, but we can't afford to rest on our laurels. The destruction of the Void Devourer has left us with a host of new problems to address." Before he could continue, his comm unit buzzed urgently. Gray frowned, tapping the device to receive the message. Dr. Elena Reeves' voice came through, tight with excitement and a hint of trepidation. "Captain, you need to get back to the horizon immediately. It's Zephyr. There's been a development." Gray's eyebrows shot up. "What kind of development, Doctor?" It's better if you see for yourself, sir, but I can tell you this. Zephyr's showing signs of consciousness." The captain's eyes widened. He looked up at the expectant faces around the table, weighing his options. "I apologize, but I need to return to my ship. An urgent matter requires my attention. Please continue without me. I'll be back as soon as possible." As Gray hurried out of the room, he heard the voices of the Allied leaders rise in discussion behind him. He knew they had much to debate: the cleanup of the battlefield, the assessment of damages, the coordination of repairs. But right now, his focus was solely on the alien that had become an unexpected ally in their fight against the Void Devourer. The short trip back to the horizon seemed to take an eternity. As soon as he stepped onto his ship, Gray made a beeline for the medical bay. He found Dr. Reeves bent over a series of monitors, her eyes darting between the readouts and the alien form on the bed before her. Zephyr's body, once so frail it seemed a strong breeze might shatter it, now pulsed with a soft, ethereal light. The alien's chest rose and fell with steady breaths, a far cry from the labored gasps of before. "Doctor," Gray said softly, not wanting to startle either Reeves or their patient. "What's happening?" Reeves turned, her face alight with scientific curiosity. "It's remarkable, Captain. When we integrated Zephyr's electromagnetic manipulation abilities into our systems, it seems to have triggered some kind of regenerative process in Zephyr's physiology. I've never seen anything like it." As if on cue, Zephyr's eyes fluttered open. Gone was the glassy, unfocused gaze of before. Now, those alien orbs shone with awareness, strength, and something that looked unsettlingly like recognition. "Captain Gray." Zephyr's voice was stronger, clearer than it had ever been. "We have much to discuss." Gray stepped closer to the bed, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Indeed we do, Zephyr. But first, how are you feeling?" "Renewed," the alien replied, slowly sitting up. "The transfer of my abilities to your ship. It allowed my body to redirect its energy towards healing. I am not yet at full strength, but I am better." As Gray opened his mouth to ask another question, his comm unit buzzed again. This time, it was Lieutenant Webb's voice that came through. "Captain, Dr. Reeves has ordered us into quarantine. The team and I are showing elevated levels of some unknown radiation after our mission to the Void Devourer's core. She wants to monitor us until she understands the effects." Gray's brow furrowed with concern. "Understood, Lieutenant. Follow the doctor's orders. I'll check in on you soon." He turned back to Zephyr, who was watching him with those unervingly intelligent eyes. "It seems our victory has left us with more questions than answers," Gray said. Zephyr nodded solemnly. "That is often the way with great battles, Captain. But I may be able to provide some of those answers now. My mind is clearer than it has been in a long time." Before Gray could respond, another alert sounded. This time, it was Captain Lissa Varn of the Cardassian fleet. "Captain Gray." Her voice crackled through the comm. "We're detecting massive fields of energized particles throughout the sector. They're creating dangerous navigational hazards. We need to coordinate a joint operation to map and contain these areas before civilian ships stumble into them." Gray pinched the bridge of his nose, feeling the weight of command settling heavily on his shoulders. He looked at Zephyr, then at Dr. Reeves, then back at the comm unit in his hand. "Understood, Captain Varn. I'll be with you shortly to discuss the operation." He turned to Zephyr. "I'm sorry, but duty calls. Can we continue this conversation later?" Zephyr inclined its head. "Of course, Captain. But when we do speak again, I have much to tell you about my people, the Ethereals, and the true nature of the threat we face. The Void Devourer you destroyed. It may not have been the only one." Gray felt a chill run down his spine at Zephyr's words. He nodded gravely, then turned to leave the medical bay, his mind racing with the implications of what he'd just heard. As he strode towards the bridge to coordinate with Captain Varn, he couldn't shake the feeling that their victory over the Void Devourer, as monumental as it was, might have been just the opening salvo in a much larger conflict. As Gray made his way to the bridge, his mind raced with the implications of Zephyr's words and the challenges that lay ahead. Upon reaching the command center, Gray immediately opened a channel to Captain Varn. "Captain, I'm here. Let's discuss the situation with these energized particle fields." "Thank you for your prompt response, Captain Gray." Varn's image flickered to life on the main view screen. "Our sensors have detected massive concentrations of these particles scattered throughout the sector. They're creating unpredictable gravitational eddies and electromagnetic disturbances that pose a significant threat to navigation. Gray nodded, his expression grim. We need to act quickly to prevent any civilian casualties. I propose we form a joint task force to map and contain these areas. Agreed, Varn replied. I've already begun assembling a fleet of our most advanced sensor ships. If you can contribute your vessels with the enhanced ethereal technology, we may be able to create a more comprehensive map of the affected areas. As they discussed the logistics of their joint operation, another alert sounded on the bridge. Lieutenant Commander Chen, the Horizon Science officer, turned to Gray with a look of concern. Sir, we're detecting an energy signature approximately 50 light-years from our current position. It bears a striking resemblance to the Void Devourer's crystal core. Gray's blood ran cold. He shared a look with Varn, whose face had paled at the news. We need to investigate this immediately, Gray said. Commander Hawkins, Sarah Hawkins, who had been overseeing repairs to the shuttle bay, arrived on the bridge moments later. Yes, Captain. I'm assigning you to lead an exploratory mission to investigate this energy signature. We need to know what we're dealing with. Hawkins nodded, her eyes gleaming with willpower. Understood. Sir, what resources will I have at my disposal? You'll be taking the HSS Pathfinder, Gray replied, referring to a newly retrofitted vessel that had been equipped with the latest in sensor technology. I want you to assemble a team of our best scientists and tactical officers. And, he paused, considering his next words carefully, I'm going to request that Zanvox provide us with some of their enhanced sensor technology. We need every advantage we can get. As Hawkins left to prepare for her mission, Gray turned his attention back to the immediate crisis. Captain Varn, I'm authorizing a joint human-Cardassian task force to address the colonial disturbances. I'd like you to take the lead on this operation. Varn nodded, her eyes narrowing with focus. I'll coordinate a fleet to establish a protective perimeter around the affected systems and conduct thorough scans of the anomalies. As the two captains finalized their plans, Gray couldn't shake the feeling that they were only seeing the tip of the iceberg. He thought back to Zephyr's words in the medical bay and made a mental note to schedule a more in-depth conversation with the ethereal as soon as possible. Meanwhile, in the quarantine section of the medical bay, Lieutenant Marcus Webb and his strike team were undergoing a series of experimental treatments developed by Dr. Reeves. The doctor moved from bed to bed, administering hyposprays and monitoring vital signs. How are you feeling, Lieutenant? She asked, approaching Webb's bed. Webb flexed his fingers, noting the reduced tingling sensation. Better, I think. The pain in my joints is subsiding. Dr. Reeves nodded, making a note on her datapad. The treatment seemed to be neutralizing the unknown radiation's effects. Your cellular regeneration rates are improving across the board. As the team's health improved, they began compiling detailed reports on their observations inside the Void Devourer's core. Webb dictated his recollections to a medical assistant, his voice growing stronger with each passing hour. The core it was like nothing I've ever seen before. The crystal structures seemed to pulse with their own inner light, almost as if they were alive. In another section of the ship, Castor and his wreck crew had set up a makeshift laboratory to analyze the Void Devourer debris. Their equipment hummed and beeped as they conducted scan after scan of the alien material. Suddenly, one of the wreck's scientists let out a startled exclamation. Castor hurried over, his eyes widening as he peered into a high-powered microscope. By the ancient stars, he breathed. These aren't just inert particles. They're machines, microscopic machines. He quickly tapped his communicator. Captain Gray, this is Castor. We've made a discovery that you need to see immediately. As Gray received the message, he realized that the victory they had celebrated might have been premature. The destruction of the Void Devourer had opened up a Pandora's box of new challenges and potential threats. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the difficult decisions that lay ahead. The captain's gaze swept across the bridge, taking in the determined faces of his crew. They had faced the impossible before and emerged victorious. Whatever came next, Gray knew they would face it together. "Helm," he called out, his voice steady and clear. "Set a course for the Pathfinder. We need to see Commander Hawkins off on her mission." As the ship began to move, Gray's mind was already racing, planning their next moves in this ever-evolving cosmic chess game. As the horizon maneuvered towards the Pathfinder's docking bay, Gray's comm unit chimed once again. "Captain." Commander Hawkins' voice came through, a hint of urgency in her tone. "We've made a startling discovery during our preliminary scans of the anomaly." Gray's eyebrows raised. "Go ahead, Commander." "Sir, we've detected a faint distress signal emanating from within the gravitational disturbance. The pattern, it matches known ethereal communication frequencies." The captain's eyes widened, his gaze immediately shifting to the medical bay where Zephyr was recovering. "Are you certain?" "As certain as we can be, given the interference from the anomaly," Hawkins replied. "We believe this could indicate the presence of more ethereal survivors." Gray's mind raced with the implications. "Hold position, Commander. I need to consult with our resident expert." He strode purposefully towards the medical bay, his steps quickening as he considered the possibilities. Upon entering, he found Zephyr sitting upright, engaged in conversation with Dr. Reeves. "Zephyr," Gray said, his voice tinged with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "We've detected what appears to be an ethereal distress signal within the gravitational anomaly we're investigating. Can you confirm if this is possible?" The alien's luminous eyes widened, a flicker of what might have been hope passing across its features. "Show me the signal pattern," Zephyr requested, its voice stronger than before. Gray activated a nearby console, displaying the data from the Pathfinder scans. Zephyr studied the readout intently, its slender fingers tracing the waveform on the screen. "It is true," Zephyr breathed, turning back to Gray. "This is indeed an ethereal distress beacon. It bears the signature of a refugee outpost." The captain's heart raced. "A refugee outpost? There are more of your people out there?" Zephyr nodded solemnly. "When the Void Devourers began their assault on our worlds, many of my kind fled, establishing hidden sanctuaries throughout the galaxy. This signal, it means some may have survived." Gray's comm unit buzzed again. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Chen's voice came through. "We're receiving a transmission from Captain Varn. Her task force has developed a method to seal the space-time tears near the affected colonies." "Patch her through," Gray ordered, his mind already formulating plans. Captain Varn's image appeared on the medical bay's view screen. "Captain Gray, we've successfully created a combination of modified shield generators and focused tachyon beams. We're beginning to systematically close the breaches, which should stabilize the affected regions and halt the influx of exotic matter." Gray nodded appreciatively. "Excellent work, Captain Varn. Your task force's efforts will save countless lives." As he ended the transmission, Gray turned back to Zephyr. "We need to mount a rescue mission to investigate this distress signal. Are you well enough to assist?" The ethereal rose from the bed, its form seeming to shimmer with renewed energy. "I am ready to aid in any way I can, Captain. My people may depend on it." Gray tapped his comm unit. "Commander Hawkins, prepare the Pathfinder for immediate departure. We're mounting a rescue mission into the anomaly." "Aye, sir," Hawkins replied. "We'll need every advantage we can get to navigate those gravitational forces." "Understood. I'm authorizing the use of our newly adapted Nexus-enhanced propulsion systems. It should give you the edge you need to penetrate the anomaly safely." As Gray coordinated the rescue mission, another alert sounded. "Captain, Chen's voice came through again. "We're receiving an urgent communication from the Cardassian homeworld." Gray felt a knot forming in his stomach. "Put it through." The stern face of a Cardassian official appeared on screen. "Captain Gray, this is Central Command. We've detected energy signatures in a distant, unexplored sector of our territory that bear a striking resemblance to those observed during your encounter with the Void Devourer." The knot in Gray's stomach tightened. He shared a concerned look with Zephyr before addressing the Cardassian official. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We'll dispatch a fleet immediately to investigate." As the transmission ended, Gray's mind raced with the multiple crises unfolding simultaneously. He needed to act quickly and decisively. "Lieutenant Commander Chen, contact Captain Varn. I want her to lead a joint human-Cardassian fleet to investigate those energy signatures in Cardassian space." "Aye, sir," Chen replied, already relaying the orders. Gray turned to Dr. Reeves. "Doctor, what's the status of Lieutenant Webb and his team?" "They've been cleared from quarantine, Captain," Reeves reported. "The experimental therapy derived from Zephyr's physiology has fully neutralized the effects of the unknown radiation." "Excellent," Gray nodded. "I need Webb and his team to oversee the establishment of a dedicated research station for studying the Void Devourer debris. Their first-hand experience will be invaluable." As the pieces of his strategy fell into place, Gray's comm unit chimed once more. This time, it was Kaz Tor, his voice brimming with excitement. "Captain Gray, we've made a breakthrough. We've developed a specialized electromagnetic containment field that renders the nanomachines in the Void Devourer debris inert. We're ready to share this technology with the fleet." "Outstanding work, Kaz Tor," Gray replied. "Coordinate with Lieutenant Webb's team to implement this containment technology at the new research station." With the various missions set in motion, Gray made his way back to the bridge of the horizon. The ship hummed with newly integrated technology, its systems more advanced than ever before. As he took his place in the captain's chair, Gray surveyed the bustling activity around him. Commander Hawkins' rescue mission was entering the outskirts of the gravitational anomaly, facing intense forces and spatial distortions. Captain Varn's fleet approached the coordinates of the mysterious energy signatures in Cardassian space, weapons primed and sensors at maximum sensitivity. Gray's fingers tightened on the arms of his chair as he prepared to coordinate this complex web of operations. The decisions made in the coming hours would shape the future of not just humanity, but potentially that of the Ethereals and the entire galaxy. "Helm," he called out, his voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "Set a course to rendezvous with Commander Hawkins' team. We'll provide support for the rescue operation." As the Horizon's engines thrummed to life, Gray's gaze fixed on the screen, watching as the stars streaked by. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that the combined strength of the allied species would be their greatest asset in facing the unknown. The Horizon's engines hummed with newfound power as it raced towards the coordinates of Commander Hawkins' rescue mission. Gray's eyes were fixed on the main view screen, watching as the gravitational anomaly loomed ever larger. "Captain," Chen's voice cut through the tense silence on the bridge. "We're receiving a priority transmission from Commander Hawkins." Gray nodded, his eyebrows furrowing. "Put her through." Hawkins' face appeared on the screen, her features strained. "Captain, we've penetrated the outer layers of the anomaly, but the spatial distortions are intensifying. The Nexus-enhanced propulsion systems are holding, but only just." "What's your status, Commander?" Gray asked, leaning forward in his chair. "We've locked onto the ethereal distress signal. It's leading us to what appears to be a hidden outpost. But, sir, the readings we're getting, it's massive. We could be looking at thousands of survivors." Gray's eyes widened. Before he could respond, another alert sounded. "Captain," Chen interrupted, "we have an incoming transmission from Captain Varn. It's marked urgent." Split screen, Gray ordered. Captain Varn's face appeared alongside Hawkins, her expression grim. Captain Gray, we've arrived at the coordinates in Cardassian space. The energy signatures. They're unlike anything we've ever seen. As Varn spoke, her image was suddenly obscured by static. When it cleared, Gray could see a massive debris field behind her, fragments of technology eerily similar to the destroyed Void Devourer. We're detecting energy pulses from the larger pieces, Varn continued, her voice tight with tension. They're coalescing. Gray watched in horror as the debris began to swirl, forming a pulsating mass of particles. Captain Varn, pull your fleet back to a safe distance. Do not engage until we have a better understanding of what we're dealing with. As Gray turned his attention back to Hawkins, he saw the strain on her face intensify. Commander, what's happening? The outpost systems are failing, sir, Hawkins reported, her voice urgent. We've detected thousands of ethereal life signs in stasis, but the pods are shutting down. We need to evacuate them immediately. Gray's mind raced, weighing the two crises unfolding simultaneously. The lives of thousands of ethereals hung in the balance, while a potential new threat was forming in Cardassian space. We had to act fast. Commander Hawkins, Gray said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. You have authorization to use all necessary resources for the evacuation. Your priority is to save as many lives as possible. Hawkins nodded, commitment etched on her face. Understood. Sir will do whatever it takes. Gray then turned to address Varn. Captain, I'm bringing the Horizon to your position. We have experimental technology that might be effective against this new entity. As Varn acknowledged the order, Gray felt the weight of his decisions pressing down on him. He was potentially sacrificing the Horizon's ability to assist in the ethereal rescue, but the threat in Cardassian space could not be ignored. Helm, Gray called out. Set a course for Captain Varn's coordinates maximum warp. Lieutenant Commander Chen, contact the research station. I want an update on Lieutenant Webb's progress with the Void Devourer nanomachines. As the Horizon changed course, Gray's mind was already formulating plans. He turned to Zephyr, who had insisted on remaining on the bridge despite still recovering. Zephyr, I need your insights. We're facing a potential Void Devourer threat, and we have thousands of your people in danger. Any information you can provide could be crucial. The ethereal's luminous eyes met Gray's, a mix of concern and willpower evident in their depths. I will assist in any way I can, Captain. The survival of my people, and indeed all life in this galaxy, may depend on our actions in the coming hours. As the Horizon streaked towards Cardassian space, Gray couldn't shake the feeling that they were racing headlong into the unknown. The fate of thousands hung in the balance, and the decisions he would make in the next few hours could shape the future of the entire galaxy. The ship's comm system crackled to life once more. Captain, Chen's voice came through, we have an update from the research station. Lieutenant Webb reports a breakthrough with the nanomachines. Gray leaned forward, his interest piqued. Put him through. Webb's face appeared on the screen, his eyes alight with excitement despite the obvious fatigue etched on his features. Captain, we've done it. We've found a way to reprogram the Void Devourer nanomachines. We believe we can use them for our own purposes. A glimmer of hope sparked in Gray's chest, but he tempered it with caution. What's the catch, Lieutenant? Webb's expression sobered. The process is highly unstable, so there's a risk of reactivating the nanomachines in their original destructive form. It's a double-edged sword. Gray nodded, absorbing the information. Understood, Lieutenant. Stand by for further orders. Your discovery may prove crucial in the coming battle. As the transmission ended, Gray turned to his bridge crew. Prepare for battle stations. We're about to face a threat unlike any we've encountered before, and we'll need every advantage we can get. The Horizon approached the coordinates in Cardassian space, its newly integrated systems humming with power. On the screen, the swirling mass of the Void Devourer loomed, growing larger with each passing second. Gray's fingers tightened on the arms of his chair. All hands, brace for engagement. Let's hope our preparations are enough. As the Horizon moved into position alongside Captain Varn's fleet, Gray knew that the true test was only just beginning. The fate of countless lives, both ethereal and Cardassian, now rested on the decisions he would make in the heat of battle. As the Horizon moved into position alongside Captain Varn's fleet, the swirling mass of the Void Devourer loomed ominously on the interface. Gray's eyes narrowed as he assessed the situation, his mind racing through possible strategies. Suddenly, a small object burst from the writhing entity, streaking towards the Allied fleet. Gray leaned forward, his heart pounding as recognition dawned. "It's Lieutenant Webb's shuttle," Chen exclaimed, her fingers flying over her console. "They're hailing us, sir." "On screen," Gray ordered, relief washing over him. Webb's face appeared, his expression a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "Captain, we've done it. The reprogrammed nanomachines have infiltrated the entity. It's destabilizing from within." Gray's eyes widened. "Excellent work, Lieutenant. Transmit all data to us immediately." As Webb's team sent the vital information, Gray sprang into action. He opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Gray. We've identified weak points in the entity. Concentrate your fire on the coordinates I'm transmitting now." The fleet responded with a synchronized barrage of weapons fire, each shot precisely targeted. The Horizon's weapons joined the assault, its advanced systems allowing for pinpoint accuracy. "Activate the electromagnetic pulse generator," Gray commanded. "Full power." The ship hummed as the experimental device charged. A brilliant burst of energy erupted from the Horizon, engulfing the Void Devourer in a dazzling display of light. The combined attack proved devastating. The entity's swirling form began to collapse, its structure unable to maintain cohesion under the onslaught. In a matter of moments, it imploded, creating a localized shockwave that rocked the Allied ships but caused no significant damage. As the fleet regrouped, Gray's attention turned to the other pressing crisis. "Commander Hawkins, status report on the ethereal evacuation." Hawkins' voice came through, tense but controlled. "Captain, we're activating the experimental long-range matter transportation device now. It's our only chance to save them all." Gray watched the view screen intently as the device powered up. For a heart-stopping moment, the energy field fluctuated wildly, threatening to destabilize. Then, miraculously, it stabilized. "It's working," Hawkins exclaimed. "We're transporting the stasis pods now." One by one, thousands of pods containing ethereal survivors materialized near the Allied fleet. As the last pod appeared, the hidden outpost within the anomaly began to disintegrate, unable to withstand the gravitational forces any longer. "All ships, retreat to a safe distance," Gray ordered. The fleet moved back just as the remnants of the Void Devourer merged with the collapsing anomaly, creating a cosmic spectacle unlike anything they had ever seen. As the immediate danger passed, the bridge door slid open. Gray turned to see Zephyr enter, the ethereal's form radiating with renewed strength. "Captain," Zephyr said, approaching Gray, "I cannot express the depth of our gratitude for saving my people. We owe you a debt that can never be fully repaid." Gray nodded, a small smile crossing his face. "We're all part of this galaxy, Zephyr. We stand together." The ethereal's eyes seemed to glow with an inner light. "There is something you should know, Captain. My people possess ancient knowledge, passed down through countless generations. This knowledge may hold the key to preventing future Void Devourer incursions." Before Gray could respond, Chen interrupted. "Captain, were being hailed by Captain Varn. "Put her through?" Gray said, turning back to the view screen. Varn's face appeared, her expression a mixture of relief and pride. "Captain Gray, the Cardassian Central Command has just contacted me. They're pledging full support for joint scientific and defensive initiatives. This victory has cemented our alliance." As Gray absorbed this news, another transmission came through. It was Lieutenant Webb, his team safely back aboard their ship. "Captain," Webb said, his eyes alight with excitement despite his obvious fatigue. "The data we've gathered on the nanomachines is incredible. I believe we can use this technology to revolutionize everything from medicine to space exploration. With your permission, I'd like to propose establishing a dedicated task force to study and develop these applications." Gray nodded, his mind already racing with the possibilities. "Agreed, Lieutenant. We'll discuss the details once we've regrouped." As the transmissions ended, Gray surveyed the bridge. His crew worked efficiently, coordinating with the Allied ships and processing the vast amount of data they'd gathered. In the view screen, he could see the fleet assembling, ships from multiple species flying in formation. "Sir," Chen said, her voice filled with awe, "we're receiving requests for communication from representatives of all allied species. They're calling for a summit to discuss the formation of a galactic coalition." Gray straightened in his chair, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. "Very well, Lieutenant Commander. Inform them that the Horizon will host a summit. It's time we forge a new path forward together." As the Horizon prepared to receive the delegates, Gray couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. They had faced unimaginable challenges and emerged stronger for it. Now, as they stood on the brink of a new era of cooperation, he knew that their greatest adventures still lay ahead. The stars stretched before them, full of both promise and peril. Whatever the future held, they would face it united.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.